Good morning. It's now time for another edition of Freedom with Steve Nichols. Brought to you in part by Sam Dennis Law, personal injury attorney, methodical, prepared, and battle ready. And by Kilby Family and Cosmetic Dentistry, dental care for the whole family. Now, available on Facebook, YouTube, Discord, and freedomnetworks.com each weekday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Here's your host and last best hope for freedom, Steve Nichols.
Good morning to everybody. Welcome to Freedom with Steve Nichols, broadcasting live here in the SGAwater.com studio in Valdosta, Georgia. Glad to be here this morning. We're here every Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., encouraging you to support those who support us. SGAwater.com is the studio sponsor. They provide a free water test in your home. They'll schedule an appointment with you, come test your water so that you know what's in there, if it's got any sort of contaminants in it, or is it hard water causing problems with your appliances. You need to know that. You can do that by calling 229-251-1100 or going to the website at sgawater.com. Y'all make sure you give them a call and tell them thank you for supporting the show. And come on out and test my water. That's what we do. The pledge and the prayer is a big part of our show. We do our pledge and prayer that's brought to you by Ross Automotive, 432 Connell Road, for all your automobile needs, cars, trucks, routine maintenance, or if there's issues with your vehicle like brakes, a battery, a knock in your engine, maybe you need a tune-up, whatever the case may be. 432 Connell Road, Ross Automotive is the place to take it. They're open each and every day from early in the morning till 6 p.m. And he has also got a place out back. If you need to park an RV or a trailer or camper or boat or something like that, talk to him about that too. He's got land back there that he don't utilize, and he's just trying to offer it out there for people that might need it. So call him about that too. He'll give you a 10% military discount if you are currently serving or have served in the military. He'll take care of you there. So appreciate him doing that. Let's go to the Lord in prayer this morning. And as we kick off this Thursday, dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for our lives, Lord. Thank you for what you've done by sending Jesus Christ to die for our sins, to have his blood cover us. Lord, we are just born in a world that's a challenge, and we have free will, Lord, and sometimes we make mistakes, and it's just nice to know that those mistakes are forgiven. All we have to do is ask for that forgiveness, Lord, and believe in the fact that you sent Jesus to cleanse us of our sins, and we'll be saved. It will inherit the kingdom of God. Lord, may we be bold and go forth and tell someone about Jesus. May we be quick to forgive and slow to persecute, Lord. May we search deep in our soul when people have trespassed against us, to forgive them for that, Lord, and give them that second, third, fourth chance if they need it, Lord. Lord, I pray for our families. I pray for our citizens in the United States who are anxious about what's going on in the country, Lord, the threats to our freedom all around us, Lord, and what we can do to elect officials who believe in our freedoms, Lord, and believe in representing us and protecting them, Lord. Guide us and keep us as we try to filter through the candidates, Lord, that we have to choose from. Lord, may we be able to get engaged in our society, Lord, in our communities, in our local communities. May we get loud. May we have our voices heard, Lord, and may we be informed. May we search for the truth, find it on our own, and verify it, Lord, and use that as our platform to tell others about what we think we need to do moving forward in this country. Lord, guide us and keep us and direct us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Now let's say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the Valdosta transmission hotline is always open, 229-469-1417. Whatever's on your mind today, that's what we'll talk about. We do have an interview set up with a gentleman who is running for the seat of lieutenant governor here in the state of Georgia. His name is Burt Jones. We'll be talking to him around 8:15 this morning. I'm going to double check my email here real quick and make sure there has been no change in that, but I don't think there has been. Looking forward to talking to Mr. Jones about his views on election integrity. That'll be one thing we talk about. I want to hit on illegal immigration and what we could do in the state of Georgia to to protect ourselves about that. We'll talk to him about a little bit about what he sees going on with the raid at Mar-a-Lago. I'll hit him on that too. And I have a few more questions about him. What will it look like if Stacey Abrams were to win? And we'll talk about all those things with him. And we'll talk about the role of the lieutenant governor. Best I can tell, it's basically just like the vice president, I assume. He's just there in case something happens to the governor. If he's incapacitated or he leaves the state, the lieutenant governor is in charge. And we'll talk to him about that. We'll talk to him about his time in the Senate. We'll talk to him about the direction of the country, what he thinks, what his vision of Georgia is. So we'll look forward to that interview. So if anybody's got any thing they think that they'd like to hear me ask Burt Jones, you can put it in the comment thread there, and we'll see if I can get that in there. 229-469-1417. Glad to have you on board this morning. I see several of the usual suspects are on here, as well as new ones on YouTube and different places there. But good morning to everybody. Good morning, Daryl Sample Jr. Hope you're doing well down there in Panama City, buddy. New York Times headline: President Biden's approval rating jumped dramatically as economy improves. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. I didn't see that headline there, but the economy has not improved. Now, you heard, and it's interesting that I read that from Charles after an interaction I had yesterday with a lady at a local convenience store that I stop by often, and I have a good rapport with the lady in there. She's a very nice lady, and she knows what I do. She's seen my shirts, and she's asked me, and I've told her. And she's not overly political. She's not a person that I think she's a person that can be easily swayed. If you give her, a spiel that makes sense, she's not the type that's going to go necessarily dig and verify it. She's going to just kind of listen to it. And if it sounds good, she'll go with it. If it sounds logical to her, she'll go with it. If it sounds not good, she'll reject it. And she's the type person, I think, that represents the average person in this country. And I'm getting to a point here about inflation. The question started out, Steve, how you doing today? Everything going all right in your political world and your show and everything? And I said, yeah, man. I said, it don't change much from day to day. We talk about things, and we just trying to get better, and we just trucking along, or something like that. Small talk, didn't get into specifics. And I said, yeah. I said, she told me the amount of my purchase. So I got a candy bar and a Coke or something like that. It was $4 or $5. I think it was $5.14 for whatever I got. And I said, I can't believe this is $5.14. That inflation is real. She said, well, the good news I heard yesterday is that this last time we had zero inflation. And I said, zero inflation? Where'd you hear that at? She goes, well, I heard the president or something say that it was good news we had zero inflation. And I just started laughing. And she said, what you laughing about? Was that not right? I said, no, ma'am, it's not right. The inflation rate is still 8.5%. I said, now what he was trying to say more than likely is it didn't rise. It was 8.5% last month in June, and it was 8.5% in July. So it didn't rise anymore. I said, but the problem was when he took office, it was at about 2%. And she said, well, that's snake, and that's just a representation of what the politicians on both sides now, they know that the bulk of the people not going to check them. They're not going to fact check them. They're just going to casually listen, and they'll hear it. And if it sounds good, it's good. If it sounds bad, it's bad. That's the way it works. So when he says, he comes out in that press conference, he said there's zero inflation. He says something like to the tune of, I've got one word for you, one number, zero. Inflation rate did not rise. No, but it's still at 8.5%, you moron. You want to celebrate the fact that it go up? I mean, that's a weak celebration. But the truth is, people grab that and say it's good news. And evidently this New York Times headline, they seem to be celebrating the fact that it didn't go up again for a fourth month in a row, that is a sign that the economy is dramatically improving. Now, they also lean to the gas prices. Gas, the national average as of today is $3.99 a gallon, I think. Diesel is still $5.02, I think. It's not really coming down like the gas is. The gas has come down. That's great. That's good. It ain't back where it was, but hey, it is trending down. I'm thankful for it. That's good. I hope it continues. All the reports that I read, the studies indicate that it's not going to continue, that it's going to go back up. Each and every day I look at the price of a barrel of Brent crude oil. It's 97.07. It has gotten down to 90. It's back up to 97.07. It's fluctuating right now, just as the people that watch it have predicted. Now, they predicted that in November it's going to start going back up. And that makes sense because the winter's coming, right? So it's going to start going back up. And the question is how high it will go. Is inflation, is it steady? Is it going to go down now? I don't think it is. Will it hold where it is? Will we just expect inflation to click along at 8.5% and celebrate that as a victory? Well, I'm going to tell you that's not a victory because it won't take long at 8.5% to crush us. Now they're arming the IRS to go after us. I mean, they're putting out these, ever since the Obama administration, there's been this move to create small, almost police force groups within agencies. The Small Business Administration, the SBA, the people in charge of handing out or processing SBA loans, the Small Business Administration. They have an armed force. The IRS, yesterday, the article come out, the news come out that they were seeking employees for the IRS, paying them between $50,000 and $80,000 a year, saying that they're going to have to carry weapons and be willing to use them in dangerous situations. This is the United States of America I'm talking about. Now, this is not a report on some third world country, okay, or some communist country. This is the United States of America, where day before yesterday, the FBI raided a former president's residence over what they say is a box of documents that were sitting in the closet that they knew about in February that they could have just asked to have them back. This is a country where Christopher Wray yesterday is all pissed off because him and Merrick Garland and the FBI have received threatening messages via Facebook, but didn't say a damn thing when the justices of the Supreme Court of the United States of America were actually being attacked in the case of Brett Kavanaugh. Death threats. They asked for additional protection. They were denied. Guess who goes with Christopher Wray and Merrick Garland everywhere they go? A freaking armed bodyguard, an armed force. But yet the Supreme Court, when they get threatened, ain't no big deal. But when Wray and Merrick Garland get threatened, oh hell, sky's falling. What a shame. I don't know. Housing market, good point, Brandon. The housing market dipping. But hey, economy's rocking right along, right? Y'all keep Janet Grant in your prayers. She's getting a bone test tomorrow, so y'all keep her in your prayers. She needs some relief there. I don't know, man. It's very frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. Biden don't seem to be, to me, the same man he was just a few years back when he was vice president. Full of energy. His speech, the way he talks. He sounds like he's barely getting by now. In that speech yesterday when he claimed zero inflation, I mean, he just sounded like he was on his last leg. There's this video going around of him getting off of the helicopter and he can't even get his own jacket on. Has to have his wife help him get it on. Now, you can read what you want to in that. I get it. I get it, but it just the optics right now, not good. Not good for the Biden administration. But lo and behold, it'll make no difference because he ain't them. That's all any voter looks at right now. If you ain't them, you got a shot. I don't want to get down on a super pessimistic highway today, but I tell you, it's I don't know, man. I see the comments on here between Bobby and Mary and all about, watching the news and not watching the news. And I hear people say they can't stand it and they just quit following it. I mean, some people that, I don't know how to characterize them, but I mean, some, people that I've never thought would really disengage are somewhat disengaging, and they're looking, I think they zero in on trustworthy places that, when they did follow it, they can kind of take it as accurate reporting, and they've learned to separate opinion from fact. And then when something, I would hope when something really stokes them or bothers them, that they actually dig into it. But I'm seeing the effects of people that are pretty sharp, who have checked out, that are now falling victim to this casual news, and they take it as the gospel when it's just totally inaccurate, or it's an opinion, or it's missing context. And I'm just telling you, but because I do this for a living, I know how hard it is to get to what you think is the truth. It's hard. It's very difficult. And it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work. It takes time away from your day to do it. You cannot just simply sit down anymore and spend 15, 20 minutes scanning headlines and reading the news and taking it as fact or the gospel or as true or as accurate. You can't do that anymore. I'm spending more and more and more time, and it's getting harder and harder and harder for me to figure out exactly what's going on. We talked about, I mean, just the thing about the bullets and is the government buying the bullets and the ammunition? Well, they are, but when you take a deep dive into it, you see that it almost ebbs and flows perfectly in mirror image as the retail everyday Joe's purchase of ammo. There's nothing really over the past 10 years that I've noticed where it's been some sort of catastrophic difference between how much the government's buying versus how much the public's buying. It seems to me that supply and demand principles are at work in the government's purchase of ammo on the sales side of it now, specifically. But then you turn around and you read articles where they're actually looking for people to work with the IRS and the SBA and the EPA and saying, we want you to come on board with us. You're going to carry a weapon, and you're going to be able to, you need to be prepared to use it. And you couple that with the news reports that the government's buying more ammunition, alongside of the fact that the citizens are buying ammunition, and you're trying to digest all that. There's just no way you can form an opinion without getting deep into it. You just can't do it. You can't do it. Mary Williams says, I see it as you're wet anyway, but not jumping back in the pool only buys you a little ignorance is bliss. Yeah, it gives you a temporary rest, but don't get me wrong. I check out of the news too at times. I can't do it for an extended period of time because of what I do. But yeah, and Saturdays and most of Sunday, I can't say Friday because usually there's a Friday late news dump or something like that. I got to be on top of it. So, but Saturdays and Sundays, I don't pay as much attention. I'll get up and scan the headlines as I drink coffee Saturday and Sunday. But I don't think we can dip out as much as it is frustrating, and as much as it feels like freedom to be away from it a little bit. I don't think we can. I think we've got to hold on, and so much as if we've got to force ourselves to go the opposite direction and dive in even deeper, because what is happening right now is alarming, to say the least. We are in trouble as a country. We are teetering on the brink here in the United States of America. Good morning, caller. You're on the Valdosta Transmission Hotline. What's on your mind?
Morning, Steve. How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing good, Theo. What's up?
I wish we didn't have to pay attention to the news.
Yeah, I do.
I mean,
too.
I really do. I really wish we could just
Well, that's what
not worry about what the government's going to do today.
That's what got us in trouble. That's what got us in trouble. The people, me, I'll just use me. I won't say you, but I suspect you. I suspect most every listener is probably like me. I didn't pay no attention in my 20s. I didn't pay attention in my 30s. It was I was into my 40s when I started thinking, I better start watching the news and what's going on around here. And I think most people, the transition happens at different ages and times for different people. Some people didn't start paying attention until they were 50. But my point to that is all of us that was out there doing our thing, raising our family, enjoying our kids, going to ball practice, going fishing, going golfing, we thought at the time we didn't have to worry about it because we have elected officials. We don't have anything. We got people up there taking care of that. We've delegated that responsibility to our representative, and here we are.
Right. You're absolutely right about that. And it's hurting us directly because we really didn't. And that's why we're struggling to put food on the table. We're having to work, a lot of jobs. So yeah, that's exactly right. I don't know what to do about it except for us to get involved with it.
Well, we have to get involved, and we have to vote. Now, people will come up with objections, and they'll say, well, why vote? We can't trust Dominion. Those are some of the questions that I'm going to be asking Burt Jones at 8:15 this morning. I'm going to talk to him about election integrity. It seems to be one of his.
Is he today?
Yeah, 8:15 today. He'll be on. Yeah, so I'm well prepared. Trust me when I tell you, I'm well prepared for the interview, and it's going to be a good one at 8:15. We're gonna talk to him.
If I could ask him anything, I would say to him, "Hey, are you being careful with the staffs that you're hiring? It doesn't matter if he gets in that position if the people that he hires to work for him are not for him and his constituents. That's a problem. That's gotten us into a lot of trouble. So I hope that he'll be paying attention to what is below the surface.
That's a good question. I don't know if it'll come up, but that is a good question, and then or more of a. It's actually not really a question. It's more of some advice, and I would say that's good advice. That's gotten politicians in trouble throughout history. Is not knowing who you're letting in your camp. As far as lieutenant governor goes, I don't know what kind of support staff he has, and one of the questions,
obviously not as big as governor or anything like that.
Exactly. Yeah, but, the role of lieutenant governor is pretty limited. Now he has to be ready to go in case something happens to Kemp. He has to be ready.
Right. Like I said, I don't. I think of course, he presides over the Senate, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But one thing that I hope that he does is, as far as a party matter, I just want him because I don't know him very well or anything like that. Is he going to protect us? Mm-hmm. Is he going to protect Steve? Is he going to protect me?
Well, he's going to say yes. So I probably want to ask that question. We already know the answer that he's going to say there, but no, I get what you're saying.
We don't have that right now. Mm-mm. That's the problem. So I'm looking forward to listening to it.
What do you think about the news that's been coming out that Donald Trump is seemingly indicating that he's going to back Brian Kemp for governor of the state of Georgia? I don't know that he has a choice. He can't back Abrams, but the news is coming out or it's leaking out that he's considering endorsing Kemp, and Kemp's reaction has been positive to that. Said he would welcome the endorsement. What do you think about all that?
I think we are in such a dire emergency right now that Kemp has not been actively hostile to Trump. Mm. He hasn't been. I mean,
That's
you
a
know,
good point. Good point. He hasn't.
some of the things that Trump wanted to do was kind of ridiculous. I think that the problems that Kemp did with that lawsuit from Abrams was a problem. But you know what? I'll take right now the situation that we're in. I find it positive.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have to win. I mean, I know you said, you know, and I remember you said, we got to win, baby. We just got to win. You know,
that's all anybody's concerned about. That's you got to win.
Yeah.
You can't let the other side win. You've got to win. That's what it is, and
but in this case,
that's a problem.
In this particular case, well, you know, I think that we got to win on this one. And I understand, you know, yeah, and believe me, I get that. You know, I completely get that. You know,
I'm not going to throw a lot of shade at that. I mean, I'm not. I mean, because I believe that it seems like things are really ramping up, and the
right.
More so than ever, and I've said this, more so than ever, I get the hindering vote. I get we can't let them win. I get it more than ever now. I still say that's not the solution, but I totally get the logic, and I've eased up, and I know you know that. I've eased up on you for that. If someone is going to vote for whoever, because they believe that the other side is just so diabolically evil, I get it. I'm not going to poo-poo that vote no more. I don't think it's the solution, but I do recognize it now as a valid strategy. I guess that's the way I would put it. I believe it is a valid strategy. It's just one that I don't quite agree with, but I respect it. I do.
You know, one thing I really have to know is, you know, if they wanted Donald Trump to quietly go into the night, you know, and they wanted us to, no longer be active, that kind of thing, then why do they keep attacking us? I mean, they've got all the power, and yet they spend all the time, instead of fighting all the problems that we have, turning their guns literally on Trump and us.
I think it's simply honoring the threat. I think they're honoring the threat. They see a threat out there in Donald Trump. Obviously, they obviously now see a threat in us if they're arming the IRS, the SBA, the EPA. I mean, they see us as a potential threat. Now you can dissect what kind of threat they perceive, but I believe they're simply honoring the threat, and they're not going to sit there. And to your point, I gave you props when I was on the phone with Jimmy yesterday. I gave you props because you always point out that the Democrats that they're dirty. They fight dirty and they fight hard and they get down in that gutter, and there's no limits there. And you've always said the Republicans have got to figure out a way to do the same thing. And I told him when they raided Donald Trump's house down there that the first thing I thought of was the things you say. The Republicans would have never in a million years dreamed of allowing that to happen to Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, or Barack Obama. But now the gloves are off. And I'm telling you right now, I think that they have started awakening the sleeping giant that you've been longing for. Because now, if their actions will end up matching their words, that is, because they are talking the tough talk right now. They are chomping at the bit. And if the House flips to the Republicans, the Democrats better hold on to their ass. If McCarthy and Rand Paul and Jim Jordan and Mike Lee and Ted Cruz, and Marco Rubio, man, I haven't seen Marco Rubio this hot ever. If they maintain that, and they take the House, and Lord help them if they take the Senate, and they go through with these things, we're going to be spending a lot of taxpayer dollars on hearing after hearing and grilling after grilling, and it's going to get either way. We headed for some very troubling, interesting times in this country after November.
I hope this will be a lesson. Even the ones that don't really like Donald Trump much, I get that. This could easily happen to them. Okay, unless they're towing the line.
Mhm.
So they better understand something. You either fight now, or you won't have any allies when they come for you. That's the thing. I hope that Republican survival instincts will start kicking in at some point.
Yeah, that's
I do.
a good way to or analyze it too. That, and I think that's what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Renee posts on here that she's worried about the timing of this coinciding with the election in November, and she's worried that we may not even have an election in November. I believe what's happening right now is what you just said. It's a survival instinct. I think that both sides right now are starting to realize that every election, Theo, for the last, I'm gonna try to be as accurate and honest as I can. Every election since, I'm just gonna say since 2016. Okay, I'm not gonna go back far. I'm gonna go back to my beginning of my radio career. I came into office at the same time Donald Trump came into office. That's when I came in. That's when I came on the scene, right? Okay. A lot of people are saying this is it. If we don't win this election right now, if we don't stop them right now, it's over. Okay. And then 2018, same thing. You heard it. And we've got to go to the polls, and we got to vote. We lost the Senate. We got to go vote. This is it. If we don't do it now, we're not going to be able to do it. Now here we are. And then 2020 comes, and it says, they're after us. This is it. If we can't keep Trump in there, if we can't keep the Senate in Georgia, if we can't, it's over. It's over. This is it. Okay. I believe that we are getting closer to that statement being a fact, that if we don't stop it now, it's over. Is it going to be 2022 or 2024? Or 2026 or 8, I don't know, but I think it's safe to say it don't take a genius to make the claim that we are closer to this being it, to this being our last chance that we ever have been. And I believe that the Republican candidates are realizing that too. And they see it, and they've got to stop it right now. And I think that 2022's election in November, again, it sounds silly to say, but truly it is of the utmost importance for the parties to win the House or win the Senate. Think of what weighs in the balance right now. Think about what will happen if the Democrats retain the White House, the Senate, or heaven forbid them pick up just one seat in this. Can you imagine if they gain one seat in the Senate and they hold the House, and Biden's still in the White House? Okay.
Yeah.
Think about that landscape. Okay. And then think about it. If the Republicans can win the House, if they just win the House, then they can shut down the advancement of the Democratic Party by that one single thing happening. And heaven forbid for the Democrats, if the Senate is taken over by Republicans and the House is taken over by Republicans, they can actually legislate. Now, Biden could still veto, and he could still override, and they wouldn't be able to override his veto more than likely. But man, they can put him on record. He'd have to veto. And not only that, look at all the hearings. They're going to get Christopher Wray up there. They're going to get Merrick Garland out there. They may even try to subpoena Biden. You know what I mean? It's there's a lot riding on this election. A lot.
It is. And, back to our lieutenant governor candidate, I hope that he'll see all this and go, I hope the number one thing is that he will say, I have to protect my constituents. I have to protect us. The Democrats always think in those terms, to their credit. I hope that this awakening will be within him and every other elected Republican. I can't just go along with the Democrats and think, yeah, my people are a bunch of deplorables. He has to protect us, just to protect himself. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to hearing it, Steve. I really am.
Right,
God bless you, okay?
All right, see you later, bud.
Thank you, man.
All right, bye-bye. 229-469-1417. 1417. That's the Valdosta transmission hotline. I get wired up and fired up and passionate about this, and I hope I've been getting a lot of criticism lately about my style and my delivery, and that ebbs and flows. It comes and goes, you know. And if someone happens to tune in infrequently, and they just happen to, you know, maybe once or twice a week, they'll check in, and they're just not hardcore listeners of the show or any show. They just like surfing the dial. I got time. Well, I wonder what they're talking about over there. And they go over there and they hear me raising hell, ranting, raving, and all that. They'll send a very scathing, terrible criticism of it. But I've been getting a lot of that lately, and I think it's cause. I hope it's because my passion is shining through, and I'm not coming across. I know I come across as arrogant and self-assured and a jackass sometimes. I get all that. I don't mean to do that. I just get passionate about it, and I get worked up about it. And I wish everybody would get worked up about it, because I think if everybody did, we could get a little further down the road as to solving some of these problems. But good morning, caller. You're on the Valdosta Transmission Hotline. What's on your mind today?
Good morning, brother Nichols. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good, T-Rex. You doing all right?
All right. Nowhere near the Alapaha today. I'm at the breakfast milk on Cat Creek.
I got you. Are you COVID free still? You okay as far as that goes?
Yes, sir. Tested myself negative. Yeah, no signs, no symptoms. So I think I'm all right.
10-4. 10-4.
I'm all right.
What's on your mind this morning?
Hey, let's give you a little test here. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I didn't actually know the answer to this. I got to admit, I'll confess before I ask you. A couple months ago, it occurred to me. Who is Ron Klain?
Ron Klain. The name sounds familiar, but I can't remember exactly who Ron Klain is.
That, sir, is the White House Chief of Staff.
Okay.
And it occurred to me about 2 months ago. I'd never heard the name. Usually, you know, I'm a moderate news junkie. I would characterize myself as a moderate news junkie. And you usually, if you follow presidential politics, you'll usually hear the chief of staff name mentioned relatively frequently in passing. 2 months ago, it occurred to me, I didn't know who the hell his chief of staff was. So I looked it up, and it's this cat named Ron Klain, who has a long resume of ties to the Democratic Party. He worked with the Obama administration, worked with Gore. And he's married to a woman by the name of Monica Medina, who is the co-founder of a news web platform called Our Daily Planet. And if you want to see the Biden energy policy, then you click to Our Daily Planet.
Just out of curiosity, two things. Number one, can you name Donald Trump's White House Chief of Staff?
Yeah, I looked them up, but I can't cough them up right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Reagan was Ronald Reagan.
I can't. Yeah, I can't. My point to that, I can't neither. So my point to that is,
you heard the names in the fluid news cycle.
Oh, of course you hear. That's right. But my point is, we don't put a lot of emphasis on the White House Chief of Staff. And now I'm gonna tie this in real quick to what Theo was saying. He was wanting me to get into the fact, you know, who are you going to hire? Who's under you? Who's with you to Burt Jones? And this wraps into this conversation with you. And the point that I think you're alluding to is that we need to know who is surrounding these candidates. We need to know who that White House Chief of Staff is, and we need to know who he's married to. And if this Ron Klain is married to this Medina lady, and she does this political group or this writing or this website or this newsletter or whatever you're talking about, we need to know all that. So that, I think that all ties in together. But my other question was, during your research of Miss Medina, did you find out that her nickname was Funky Cold?
It was what?
Funky Cold Medina.
No.
Really? Well, I was just wondering if that was Tone Loke's inspiration for the song Funky Cold Medina. I was just curious.
I've never heard that song.
What?
Man, now you got me way off target. I got to look this song up. The hell with all this Wikipedia and Daily Planet.
You've never heard the song Funky Cold Medina?
No, who sings it?
Tone Loc. Man,
I don't know
have
who
you
that
ever
is
heard?
either.
Have you ever heard the song "Wild Thing"? Not the old rock.
Yeah.
Not
Now
the
there you
old.
go. I thought that
No.
was the song.
Not the old. Not the old one. I'm talking about the rap version of "Wild Thing."
You're out of my genre.
Working all week, gotta fly for my money. When the weekend comes, I go get live with the honeys. Wild Thing.
Okay, I do think I recall that. Maybe hearing that in the background in the 90s. Staggering down in a drunken stupor at the new night. Yeah, that's all coming back.
Okay, all right. That's Tone Loc. He also sung one called Funky Cold Medina, where he goes out and he's trying to find him a girl and all this. And at one time he hooks up with a transformer and he says, "Ain't no plans with a man. This is the 80s. I'm down with the ladies." And I'm just shocked. I'm shocked that you don't know what Funky Cold. But anyway, we're digressing into a place that probably.
Oh my God, you've got me so derailed now. I don't even want to get back on this serious political conversation. The hell with it. I like the one about big butts too. I like big butts.
Yeah, and I cannot lie. I cannot lie. You other brothers can deny. But when a girl walks by with an itty bitty waist and about thinking you'll think you get
look in the mirror if you love thyself, you know.
I hear you. All right. Anyway, we need to know who all these people are because they're in positions to influence the thoughts and the policies and the direction of our government. This is the swamp. This is the swamp. Okay. The swamp is filled with Democrats and Republicans. Okay. The swamp is an infestation of people. There's not one or two people involved in the running of our governments and the policies of our countries. It's literally thousands of people. It's a machine. It's almost an organic. It's almost an organism that moves and ebbs and flows on its own. It's a nasty infiltration and conglomeration of people with ideas all over the board. And this is why the founding fathers wanted limited government. They wanted the federal government to be small because they knew in their infinite wisdom, if it grew to some big point, that it would become that malignant tumor I keep describing. And that's what we've got. And it doesn't matter if Republicans are up there or Democrats, but there's absolutely no way when Donald Trump, and I'm gonna analyze this and I'm gonna give him a bit of a pass. He ran in 2015. His whole candidacy, his entire campaign was, "I'm gonna drain the swamp." You remember that? You were like me. I'm gonna drain the swamp. I'm gonna drain it. And I believe he absolutely intended of going up there and doing it. He was a businessman. He was used to working with big, complicated corporations that had a bunch of people, and he'd go in there and he'd weed it out and he'd straighten it out. And I thought it's a good thing that he'd take that business approach to the government. But the problem is, when he got there, he quickly realized that the federal government is the largest and the biggest corporation in the United States of America by far. It employs more people. It has more department heads. It has more general managers and managers. And it is so big that one person, the president, cannot possibly keep tabs and manage on the ideas of each and every one of its cogs and wheels and employees. They can't do it. You are fighting a battle in government that you can't win. And you remember when there was a argument over the word or the phrase that, we've got to take a scalpel to the federal budget or the federal government or the federal whatever. We can't take a chainsaw. Remember, there was an argument. Obama, he was saying we've got to do this in little bitty pieces and dissect it and all that. And the argument was, well, are we going to get anywhere doing that, or should we take a chainsaw? And I keep saying I couldn't be elected because I'm the chainsaw. You know what I mean? I believe in the chain. We got to tear this government down as far as we can back towards the constitutional principles of the country. And if we apply the Constitution to the U.S. government right now, I believe that the government will be cut in half by probably 75 or 80%. I'm talking about personnel now. It's incredible.
Yeah, I agree. And what you just said, it touches on what I was trying to bring the conversation back to. if someone with the experience of Donald Trump in business and the experience of managing large, complicated organizations couldn't do it, what chance does Biden have? I mean, let's face it, he's a president in effigy, and they just haven't picked the time to put the torch to him yet. They needed him to get there, but that's my point. I think that what we're seeing, a lot of the problems today is the fragmented government. There's symptoms, and we can tune out and not watch the news, but these symptoms are going to come to us just like COVID-19 came to us. They're going to come in the forms of inflation, higher gas prices, all kinds of trouble we haven't even seen around the corner that we feel are looming right now. And I just think I look at Obama, I look at Trump, both of those, as diametrically opposed as they were politically, they had one thing in common. They were competent enough to guide the government and manage the government in some way. And when I look, I go to this woman's website, her newsletter she has posted, the Daily Planet. Hell, I'm seeing this is the Biden administration's green policy, the Green New Deal, slapping you right in the face.
Absolutely.
It's all right there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
This
and he has no freaking clue.
No, they slid it right in there. That's a good point. I mean, this is not the Inflation Reduction Act. This is the climate change package. This is the whole point of this.
It's coming to you. The playbook was already posted on this woman's website for years. It's right there. The playbook's right there. And I'd never heard this guy's name. I don't know why it occurred to me. I said, who the hell? I just thought, who the hell is his chief of staff? You're right. I don't know all the chiefs of staff, but this has been a pretty controversial ride for Biden. I would think the chief of staff would be breaking through the news a little bit on this, but he is quiet.
Well, that might be intentional. It probably is intentional because you know, think about what you're saying. I mean, I think this is such an important conversation that Theo started. Now you're upping it a little bit. If he was in the spotlight and he was out there and everybody knew who Ron Klain was off the top of their head instead of being vaguely familiar with his name like I was, we would probably say, Ron Klain, man, he's out there moving and shaking. Who is this cat? And then we start researching it. We find out he's married to Funky Cold Medina, and we go through that analysis, and we realize that Funky Cold ain't the same Medina that's in the song. She's actually a very nefarious person with an agenda and an ideology that's contrary to us. And then we start bringing attention to that. So they may have kept him quiet and down on purpose.
Oh, dude, I don't think there's any question to that. He's always been a backdoor player, it looks like. And some people are content with being behind the scenes player. But wasn't this administration tailor-made for that? You can actually lead from behind the scenes. You don't have to take cues from the commander-in-chief where he's at now. He can be making policy right now. And going in there and taking Biden's little hand and holding it on the rubber stamp that stamps what his decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, I see somebody like him. He would be in a perfect position to do exactly that.
Well,
he's a Harvard lawyer.
Yeah, here's one of the things you can do. You know, when you're trying to hide Ron Klain, right? He's the White House chief of staff. He's married to Funky Cold Medina, who is this person you've described as somebody that we don't need in there. So to camouflage that, you select a transformer to be the assistant health secretary. Rachel Levine, this is what's sad. If you ask a bunch of people who Rachel Levine is, they can tell you she's the transformer that Biden appointed assistant health secretary. So we're all talking about Rachel Levine, how she is a he, and we're talking about pronouns, and You know how gross it is to have to look at him dressed as a woman, be the health secretary, and all the while, Ron Klain's over there under the radar. Nobody knows who he is, and specifically who he's married to. So we got to pay attention. We really do.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I don't know. I was just sitting around here one day thinking about everything that was going on, and I thought, damn, who is his chief of staff? I don't remember him being a splash in the media when it was mentioned. I haven't heard his name uttered. I mean, like I said, I went back and I looked at Trump's because it did occur to me exactly what you said. And I didn't, one of those, I think Trump went through about, 3 of them?
3, 9, 12. What's the difference? I don't know,
Yeah,
but he was firing up left and
but,
right. That's for sure.
I do remember some in presidential history. I remember Donald Reagan. Oh, that was all the way back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the one old man Bush had too. I can't recall his name right now. But I didn't recall. I think George W. Bush went through too, and I don't remember seeing their names. I didn't recall their names either. But I think it's pretty clear exactly what you said today. You see this guy failing more and more. He can't even put his jacket on, and you expect me to believe that he can whip this huge government and somehow in any successful fashion manage this government when Donald Trump, the micromanager, couldn't do it. Forget it. I mean,
well,
anyway.
Trump, excuse me, went through at least 3. Goodness. Reince Priebus, you remember him? John Kelly.
Oh, yeah, see that name right there.
Yeah. John Kelly. You remember John Kelly? Mick Mulvaney. Yep. Mick Mulvaney. I mean, he sounds like
those names ring bells. But when I heard Ron Klain, I thought, who in the hell is that? I'd never heard of him.
That's an interesting point. Yeah. But it kind of goes to this point too. It is I pay attention, but if someone were to give me a test, asking me or giving me a list, you could do it either way you want. You could list their name and tell me what position they held, or you could say fill in the blanks and tell me who holds these positions. And you're talking about all the department heads under Biden. I'd get a few right. I know who Buttigieg is. I mean, he's the head of the transportation. Now I know Ron Klain is the chief of staff, and I'd get a few right, but in all honesty, as much as I pay attention, and as much as I read, there's no way I could pass that test. If you put 50 questions on there, I might get 10 of them.
Here's another one. Who's our energy secretary right now?
I don't know, but I do know under Trump, it was the dude from Texas that ran for president. What was his name? He wears the black glasses. Somebody help me out. See,
Perry.
Rick. No, not Rick. What
Rick
was it?
Perry?
Was it Rick Perry? Yeah.
I think I always liked him.
Yeah,
he's the one that crashed and burned in the debate.
He's on it.
Real bad.
Yep. I think we need to polish up, me included. Me more than anybody. I'm the one in here talking to y'all,
Yeah, I just sit here, pop this off. Secretary Jennifer Granholm.
Granholm, yeah, I have. I've heard of that. She's been in. I think she testified in the January 6th thing, if I'm not mistaken.
And right under her name, under the Google hit, U.S. Energy Secretary Granholm violated ethics law. Reuters. So she's in check.
Yeah.
So Monica Coburn or whatever you said her name was. What is it? Monica what?
You talking about Monica Lewinsky?
No, not Monica.
We all know who she is, don't we?
Hell yeah. Monica, what's her name?
Who?
Menina's her real name. What did you say the name of the song was?
Oh, Funky Cold Medina.
Funky Cold Medina.
Yeah, you got when you get off the show today, you got to Google that and listen to it now. I want a full report. I want a full report in the morning.
Never heard of it. I've never. Yeah, she can go the way of Jennifer Granholm and Klain and the rest. I've never heard of any of them.
All right, T-Rex. Hang in there.
I'm hanging.
Have a good day. Goodness, man. Getting all stopped up this morning here. I can feel it in there too, man. This rain, I don't know. 229-469-1417. Bob Murphy says, dang, y'all wouldn't talk about people, would you? Yes, we do. It's what we do. We're a talk show, so we're going to talk about people, current events. And I think what you're referring to is, should we be talking about people in a negative way and in a personal way? Probably shouldn't be, but hell, what's the fun in not doing that? That'd be dull, man. I got to entertain too, right? 229-469-1417. Richard Todd says it is raining sideways in Pensacola. Probably going to rain here today too. Let's go ahead and look at the weather. We'll take an early peek at the weather this morning. The weather. Let me get it teed up here. If I don't pass out, I'm going to do the weather and I'm going to take a break, so don't call right now. Cloudy early with scattered thunderstorms developing this afternoon. High will be 86 degrees. Winds out of the south-southwest 5 to 10. Chance of rain is 50%. I promise I'm not going down. I'm reasonably sure I'm not. Locally, heavy rainfall is possible. It's going to be overcast. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. Low near 70 degrees. Winds out of the southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. So that's your weather report, brought to you by Recycling Center of Quitman, 900 Boundary Street in Quitman. Up at 9 a.m. this morning. You can call them at 229-563-5300 for all your recycling needs. They're a great bunch of people. Zach's been with us on the weather report for a while now. Thank you, Zach. All right, the Fish and Game forecast. Man, they biting at 8:20 p.m. If you can go and stay dry or fight the rain, and the lightning has been terrible lately, but them fish, I guess they know it, and they know that they can get out there and eat right now. And if they see a threadfin shad, they're reasonably sure it's a threadfin shad and not a rattle trap. If they see Jimmy's big old jitterbug bubbling across the water, they can be reasonably sure it is a mouse that has been knocked out of the tree and into the water in the storm. And they just know this, so they're going to bite heavily at 8:20 p.m. So if you get out there at 8:19 p.m. and fish till 8:21 p.m., you will have caught a fish. That's what this report is saying. You can depend on it. It's accurate. Maybe not that accurate. Jimmy is trying to call my cell phone. So Jimmy, if you're listening, I'm not answering that. That happens sometimes. People I know dial the personal number rather than the studio number. But the Fish and Game report is brought to you each and every day. My buddy Reed Hall at Plantation Creek Real Estate. Now, Reed is an expert in all things real estate, but he does concentrate on large or small recreational tracts of land, selling them or buying them. You need to call him, and he'll hook you up there. Plantation Creek Real Estate. And also check out his wife's store, Plantation 59 Apparel, right up there by Tractor Supply in Tifton, Georgia. Just a wonderful store, wonderful group of people, just A1. And man, I just love them to death, and I appreciate them. Good morning, Jimmy. You are on the air after getting the correct phone number dialed and not my cell phone number.
Oops.
That's right.
I was just going to say it ain't true. If you base your fishing trips solely on those fish biting pinwheels and grass, yesterday morning I tried everything but dynamite, and
that was yesterday.
Finally catch one little one, and last night I caught two little ones, but it's dead right now. Get a couple days off the full moon and then give it a try.
You said yesterday that you were fishing in the morning, right?
Uh-huh.
All right. What time yesterday is the morning the only time you fished, or did you fish at other time during the day?
No, I fished last night too.
What time last night?
Got there a little after 8. Now I know you said the peak was at 7, but if it's in the excellent range at 7, there should at least be small fish moving, within a proximity to that.
Well, look,
I'm telling you, man, it is dead right now. Has been for about a week.
Well, at the mill pond down the road from the house, at the mill pond down the road from my house, one of the guys that he owns a lot there and he fishes, he caught 7 bass yesterday evening off of his dock. Now,
wow.
Now I didn't ask him what he was fishing with. That plays a big part in
that plays a big part. Now, I could go
absolutely.
get some live shiners. I guarantee you I could go catch some big bass.
Yeah.
But I don't do it.
It's
I
no
want the
shock.
aggressive
It's no
bass, and I
shock that
want to
they
make them
didn't.
hit wood.
It's no shock that you didn't catch anything yesterday morning. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I wouldn't waste my time going this morning either. But if you can brave the lightning and the rain, according to the graph, they would bite. But here's the thing, Jimmy, I've known you a long time now. Don't call in and criticize the graph of a paying sponsor of the graph. I'm saying that with all joke and all love in my heart. I'm teasing. I'm totally teasing.
I actually do when I can find them. I need you to show me how to get to that graph, because when I Google that stuff, I get everything but what I'm looking for.
That's right. Yeah.
But no, I do look at that stuff. It's all relative.
Yeah.
But just because it says it's excellent at 3 o'clock, don't mean you're gonna go and the fish are gonna jump in your boat and fight each other.
No. Let me. This right here is a predictor. It's saying that out of the 24 hours, if the fish is going to bite, he's more apt to bite at this time than any other time. But it does not mean he's going to bite.
It doesn't mean you won't catch him at 4.
That's exactly right.
There are so many relative, factors and conditions and elements. Lately, I've been doing a lot of study and reading stuff by guys like Doug Hannon, the bass professor.
Oh,
remember him?
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
Now, Doug Hannon kept a written log for 10 years. He followed, all the bass he caught in that 10-year period. He caught 400 bass over 10 pounds.
That ain't bad.
All right. Of that 400 bass in that 10-year period, 65% of them were caught on and around the new moon, the dark night.
That's right.
That's when I prefer to fish for them also.
That's right.
But what I've been doing for the past week and a half is testing. I'm reading Bill. Oh shoot, I got a mental block on his last name, but he wrote a book called In Pursuit of Giant Bass.
What Bill Dance?
Now he fished in California.
Oh, okay.
And he's a guy that caught hundreds and hundreds of bass over 10 pounds, all the way up to like 17 pounds. And he says that the 3/4 waxing moon is the moon when you will catch the most trophy bass.
Yeah.
And I've been testing that this week, but I'm not that I haven't been for years. I've always preferred the new moon, but I'm telling you, man, I have to side with Doug Hannon on this one.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this.
Told people, and I may have told you in the past, I catch a lot of bass fishing at night with that musky jitterbug when it's at its darkest, when there's no moon.
That's right.
All right. But the ironic thing is that the 2 biggest fish I've ever caught fishing at night came on full moon.
Well, I was about to say that. That's the thing. The fish are going to bite when they're hungry. And most of the time it's a reactive type thing. And they're opportunistic. And they're going to eat. It doesn't matter what time of day it is, and it doesn't matter what the moon phase is. Those things simply add to the probability that fish might bite. The biggest one, I've described our best day of fishing. Me and Jim Rogers down in his grandfather's pond when we caught. We caught and hung the biggest bass. 5 or 6 bass I've ever seen at one time like that. And that was at 2 o'clock on a July day when it was close to 100 degrees in the afternoon, on a rattle trap, which is a very fast swimming bait. All the professors and all the information would tell you at that time of day and in those conditions that the bass would be very lethargic, inactive, and probably wouldn't bite. And it was totally the opposite, So I can tell you this. I've never caught a largemouth bass in my living room. Never.
Nope.
So go fishing.
I have caught some very nice bass in the middle of the day with a jitterbug.
Oh, yeah. Yep, that's right.
Under the hot sun. In fact, I did it last week.
Yeah.
So, but for this week, it has really been shut off, and it has been my experience. Yeah, go fish on the full moon because all it takes is one, but lubricate your reel really good. You're gonna make a lot of casts.
That's right. That's right.
But that's just my 2 cents worth in on that. I'm probably going to take some time off until about Sunday. Sunday will be 3 days off the full moon, and it ought to start picking back up.
That's right.
By my experience, and we'll go from there.
tenfold. My
So
brother.
on the government agencies buying up massive amounts of ammo, truth or not truth?
Well, I spent about 2 hours looking into it. And I said earlier this morning, when you look back over the past 10 years, which is far as I went back, the purchases of the government relative to purchases of retail people mirrors one another. So when the public is buying more ammo, so is the government. When the public is buying less ammo, so is the government. So it's hard right now for me to and I got to go further into it, but it's hard for me to, the pattern right now doesn't seem alarming. What seems alarming is the creation of groups of armed, I'm gonna call them police. They avoid that word in my research, but and I think I texted you something about that, the SBA, the Small Business Administration.
Regulatory agencies, not enforcement agencies like police departments, sheriff's departments, the FBI, things like that. Regulatory agencies like the EPA, the SBA, the IRS, they are forming, or have formed would be more accurate. That these have been around for a long time, a lot longer than I thought when I texted you last night. The armed IRS has been in existence since Al Capone, since they were after Al Capone. So it's not in the specifically the IRS and even the EPA. This is not something that's new. I think the EPA armed portion of it was formed in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken, or right along the time the EPA was formed. I can't remember, not looking at my notes. So to answer your question, currently, is the government buying more ammunition? The answer to that is a definite yes. And so is the public. So I just haven't gotten any further in my research than what I've just told you. Okay, let me give you a thought on that, what you just told me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The public will buy more ammunition relative to what the government is doing.
Absolutely.
When the government's pushing gun control, the government will then, the citizenry will, who are pro Second Amendment, will understandably go and buy up all they can get.
Mm-hmm.
When when we see the corruption and the mayhem that's going on in our government now, citizens will tend to want to arm up because we fear that something is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that would be why the citizenry, ebbs and flows and peaks,
absolutely,
and spikes.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It's obvious.
But what's making the government spike at the same time?
We don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
There you go.
And it's something that you probably, honestly, it's a hard road to hoe trying to figure out the answer to that. You're going to end up with having to put two and two together and form a logical opinion. That's what you're going to have to do, because there's not going to be a sign or a red flag in the research that says, here's why. You know what I mean? They're not going to.
I've told you a number of times lately, and I'll repeat it one more time. We don't know what we can believe anymore as far as things that are circulating, even in the media itself. But what we do is we take each little bit of information and you hold it up to the light and you look through it next to what all else is going on around you in the world, and you see, does the math add up?
Mm-hmm.
And if the math adds up, then you give it some validity, and you pay attention to it. You see where it's going to lead you. Mm-hmm. If the math doesn't add up, then you can just discard it for another time.
Yeah, it's pretty simple analysis for me as to how I should react when I read that, and I come to the conclusion that the fact is that the government is buying more ammunition. Then that tells me that I might need to consider going and buy more. It's just simple. Yeah. That's simple for me. Now, for the average person out there that's trying to figure it all out, they may not get that same conclusion. They may just sit there and keep wondering about it and not be proactive. Yeah. But I'm gonna give a tip to somebody out there. This came over on the YouTube on my messenger. What ammunition do I recommend? A person that don't have a lot of guns, buy. This is what I would tell the average person out there that don't own a lot of guns or just kind of getting into it. This is just my opinion, okay? And I don't want to give out. I've told a few people off air this, but I don't want to give out a lot of information. But I'm just going to tell you that this is what you need to do, in my opinion. If you're a novice and you want to just, have a gun and have some ammunition, go find you a 10-22 Ruger, 22 caliber 10-22 Ruger. It's a semi-automatic rifle, easy to operate, very dependable, very accurate. It'll hold some bullets. We'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
But the ammunition is pretty easily available right now, and it's about the cheapest form of ammunition you can get. For instance, you can own 50. Now, this is going to sound like an extraordinary amount of ammunition to some people. Some people it won't. But you can own 10,000 22 bullets very easily and very cheap. And when you store them in your house, it don't even take up hardly any room whatsoever. You can teach your kids to use those weapons very easily. There's not a big bang. There's not a lot of recoil. And trust me when I tell you. Now, if you ask me, would I rather be shot with a 22 or a 223? I'll say the 22. But trust me when I tell you, you don't want to get shot with a 22. You just don't. You just don't.
So, that's something that I was going to point out when you came up for air, is that people that don't understand weaponry and ballistics.
Yeah.
And I actually will disagree with you on the 222 because that 222 has a better chance of entering and then exiting.
Well,
but a 22 does not tend to exit the body. What it tends to do is bounce all around inside the body. It's evil little round.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You don't want to get shot with either one. I'd still choose the 22 because now if you told me that the 223 was a steel jacket bullet, I'll take the 223 because it's going to blow right through me and it ain't going to do a lot of damage. That you of course, if it hits you hard or whatever, you got a problem. But we're getting into stuff that the average person is not going to understand anyway. But
I can simplify that though for the average person because as a police officer, I studied this stuff. There are recorded incidents of police officers being shot in the line of duty and dying when their gunshot was a completely non-fatal gunshot. They didn't have to die.
It hits a bone and ricochets. That's right. I mean, that's the nature of the beast. Slow moving, smaller. You know, it's gonna do a lot of damage.
One of the things I had a very good instructor in the police academy, and I credit this man with saving my life at least 3 times in my career. Pete Peterson. He was just. I mean, God sent him to me to train me at 20 years old to go out and do that job. And that was one of the things that, you know, I and my fellow students in his class in the police academy, he drummed that into our heads. If God forbid you're out there and the worst happens and you find yourself shot, do not lay down and die. Because there is a mentality that tells people to do that.
Yeah. They've
been shot. They think they have to die. There's also on record an individual that was shooting police officers, and police officers returned fire, and they shot this guy with 9mm more than 30 times before he finally went down. And many of those hits were life-threatening hits. And you know, and I connect that to the old cliche. You know, scientists have proven that the bumblebee cannot fly.
That's true. That's right.
Yeah. But nobody has told the bumblebee, so he flies.
Yeah, I've always adopted the Jesse Ventura attitude. I ain't got time to bleed. So if I find myself shot, I ain't got time for that. I'm gonna keep going.
Yep, you keep fighting. Another good example, if you want to go with movie lines, is Clint Eastwood in The Outlaw Josie Wells. Whenever it looks bad, you got to get mad dog mean.
That's right. All right. When it's looking
But
bad.
no, back to that subject. Yeah, the if you're if you're somebody that doesn't know guns very well, and you want to get you something for defense at an entry level, 22 is the way to go. I will give you this advice: whatever you do choose to get, you take it out somewhere where you can legally and safely use it, and you get familiar with it. You get efficient.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And for God's sakes, don't carry it out in public, having never fired a round through it.
Nope. All right, I got to go to the bathroom, man.
All right, see you later.
See you. All right, 229-469-1417. When I get back, we'll open the line back up again. Y'all hang in there. You listen to Freedom with Steve Nichols.
Well, 1 hour is gone. If you made it this far, you are an official freedom fighter. Don't forget to visit freedomnetworks.com. Click on featured advertisers and support these businesses. They can advertise anywhere. They choose this show as a way to support the effort of preserving and defending freedom. Now, back to the show with Steve.
All right, back on Freedom. Thought I had it all out. Freedom with Steve Nichols right here on the freedomnetworks.com. Visit freedomnetworks.com. That's with an X. And check it out. It's a work in progress, but we've got articles up there by Dr. Spencer Price, David Penny, Larry Godwin, Sarge. Y'all check them out, and they're going to be putting new material up probably about once a week. We'll get into a groove and get it, get it going and get on a regular schedule there. But y'all check it out, and you can watch and listen to the show on there. You can go to YouTube, you can go to Facebook, or you can listen on the Discord app. Right now, those are the ways to get the show, and a lot of people are getting it, so I appreciate y'all tuning in. Good morning, caller. You're on the Velocity Transmission Hotline. What's on your mind?
How's it going?
Hey, man, what's going on?
A lot.
Good deal. What's on your mind today?
Well, y'all were talking about 22. I got a 22 myself.
Well, good.
The Ruger 1022 rifle. That thing is. I also have a non-working 30-round magazine for the thing, but my dad passed away before he could fix it, and I don't know what I'm gonna do about it though, because the 30-round clip that I have is just sitting somewhere, and like I said, it doesn't function, so it needs to be fixed.
That's right.
Apparently, there's a way to fix it, but I don't remember exactly how that's done.
A local gun store can probably help you out with that if you ever get the time to take it down there, or you can go back to the original magazine. I think it holds 10 or 11. I can't remember.
I have my original clip. It's a regular 10-round clip, which, I mean, if somebody's shooting 10 rounds, if you blow through 10 rounds and somebody's not getting the hell out of there, somebody got a problem.
That's right.
I mean, when with the training that I did with this rifle, I got accurate to the point. My dad would set up. He had the really loud ass annoying door alarms that would, you have on the door when the door opens it really loud.
Mm-hmm.
He would set that up, and then we would have a target. And usually my shots would get within 3 inches of the target.
Now, how obviously you're challenged with your sight. You're not totally blind. You're just legally blind. Am I remember correctly?
I have light perception, but that's about it.
Okay.
And my light perception is kind of sketchy these days anyway. It's some days it's there, some days it's almost non-existent.
So when you were shooting, with your father and all, you could actually see better then than you can now. Is that
well?
Or?
Well, no. It was all by. I was running from, like I said, because he had set up the door alarm thing, and I would know where the target is, and then, well, the rest is history.
Yeah, I took a blind gentleman. He was completely blind, and I didn't take. I was actually filming it up at a Keeping Warriors outdoors event in Nashville, Tennessee. He was wheelchair bound and blind, but he had an apparatus that his father, the guy's name was Eric. You actually, they used to actually have him on a commercial for Wounded Warriors, and he was in a wheelchair, and I recognized him when I seen it. But he had they had the technology that could direct him on target, and he actually had to use. Not only was he blind, he was paralyzed, and he had to use a straw to pull, to pull the trigger on the gun. And it was cumbersome. It would take him a long time to acquire the target and get him on there. But then his dad would coach him through it, and he'd blow through the straw and shoot. And as far as a target goes, like you're indicating, he was very accurate on target. It was tough in the field for him to kill something, and he shot a couple of times on that hunt. Didn't get anything, unfortunately. But it's technology when it comes to people with challenges like that, like you face. I mean, the technology is amazing on those things.
Yeah, I'm also planning on today. I'm going to a meeting because I'm going to find a job is what I'm going to end up doing, because I'm getting tired of dealing with the chump change that Congress decides to allocate for people. Mm-hmm. Because if I find the right job, I can do whatever I want.
Well, good luck with that. We hope you do.
I shouldn't be stuck with less than $1,000 a month just because, that's ridiculous, frankly.
Maybe you can find something. We'll be hoping and praying that you that you can, and get a little money coming in. You'll feel better, and you'll have a better quality of life without a doubt.
Yeah, everybody says it's hard, but I mean, what ain't hard these days?
No, that's true. That's good.
I should know that.
We all have our challenges. That's right. And you can't let them. You just got to bust through them and realize that, hey, we all got issues. We all got challenges. So
yeah,
I appreciate
my mom. The other day, my mom said something to the effect of, "Oh, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you shouldn't go." And I'm thinking, well, I'm not about to sit here at the house for the rest of my life.
There you go. There you go. Get up and go. That's right.
Medicaid.
That's right. Get up and go, Austin. Get up and go.
Ridiculous.
Plow that field, baby. All right.
All right.
Appreciate it, man.
Good talking to you, bro.
All right. Thank you. See you. 229-469-1417. That's good attitude. I'm glad to hear him speaking like that. Good morning, caller. You're on the Valdosta Transmission Hotline. What's on your mind?
Hey, morning, Steve. I got some numbers I want to throw at you.
Sure.
And in the process, I want you to consider yourself one of the ammunition manufacturers.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
In the year 2000, up until the year 2006, gun sales in this country were pretty steady. They were slightly below 8 million guns a year.
Mm-hmm.
So as a manufacturer, what do?
You manufacture bullets to accommodate what you think will be the need of the 8 million guns that were purchased.
Correct. From 2005 till 2010, gun sales in this country rose about 2 million guns per year up to 10 million guns a year.
Okay.
How much of an investment do you put in your company?
Whatever it takes to accommodate 10 million gun owners.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, from 2010 to 2013, gun sales went from 10 million guns a year to almost 16 million guns a year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do you do?
Same thing. I increase. I go borrow more money. I put in more production capacity, and I meet the needs of the 16 million gun owners. I try to.
Okay, good. All right. 2013 to 2014, gun sales dropped 3 million guns a year. What do you do with the extra inventory?
You reduce the price and fire sell it, probably.
2014 through 2017, gun sales kind of go back up to 16 million guns a year.
Mm-hmm.
You just gonna maintain status quo?
Well, I'm gonna hire the people back I probably laid off in 20 to 13 to 20 to 14 and ramp up production to meet the needs of the 16 million. That's probably what I do.
Okay. Well, from 16 to 19, gun sales dropped by about 10 million guns a year.
Mm-hmm. And that coincides with the probably the little bit of safety that the citizens felt with the Republicans in control, Trump coming into the White House. They didn't see the need to purchase the weapons as they did back in, the 2000, 2006, the Obama years when they were running. So, and I know where you're going with this. And now I'm sure that the sales are ramping back up. And that's what's creating the shortage. So that's a pretty damn good analysis.
2010 till 2019, gun sales were fairly volatile.
Yeah.
Up, up and down.
That's right.
And as a manufacturer, you've already invested more in ramping up, production.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've had to lay off people, and then you've had to hire them back.
Mm-hmm.
And then from 2019 to 2021, gun sales went from 13 million guns a year to 21 million guns a year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a manufacturer, how much of a capital investment are you prepared to make?
I can tell you this after my conversations with Jason, and I'm just going to tell you, your wife may know him. Jason Hornady his last name's Hornady. He's the vice president of Hornady Ammunition. I can tell you what their strategy right now as a bullet manufacturer is. Their strategy right now is they ain't doing jack until they see what happens in November.
Yeah, man, and I don't blame them.
Mm-mm.
But this graph I'm looking at, and then using it to correlate between the sales of guns, the availability of ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this just in 1 year, in 2 years, in 2020, 19 million guns were sold.
That's incredible. That is
in 2021. 21 million guns were sold.
So that's 40 million guns were sold in just them 2 years. And if you add up all the years preceding that from 2000 to 2017, you got 16, 18, 20, 28. We sold more guns, or there were more guns purchased in this country in those 2 years than in the previous 18 years combined.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Well, and according to the National Shooting Sports Foundation, I gave you a number yesterday of 7 million. They have said that since 2019, 8.4 million people are first-time gun owners.
That's good. That's good news.
Yeah, and hopefully those first-time gun owners will you take the advice of Jimmy and go out there and get some training.
Mm-hmm.
You know, before you take that gun out there, learn how to operate it. So, but you know, those numbers are pretty staggering, and for a manufacturer of ammunition, it kind of, you know, the demand is going so high. I mean, it can fall off at a heartbeat based on government regulations, so they can't.
It's
they can't
volatile.
meet market demand right now.
That's
we
right.
just have to understand that.
Exactly. It's volatile. You can't, I mean, it's easy to understand when you look at the statistics. They can't go to the bank if the bank's willing to loan a gun or a bullet manufacturer the money, if they're willing to even do it, which is questionable now.
Yeah.
It's a tough
financing is a challenge.
It's tough. It would be a fool to me. It'd be a foolish loan from the bank right now with the volatility. I would, if I was the bank, I'd probably tell Jason, well, you know, let's wait till December. You know, let's revisit this December. Let's see how this election goes. But I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm gonna take you through a couple of things. If you had to guess, you just told me that, and let me make sure I'm right. In 2021, there were 19 million guns sold, correct?
In 2020, gun sales in the U.S. Dipped slightly. Dipped slightly in 2021. Yeah, 19 million in 2021.
All right, out of those 19 million, let me just put this correlation out there. Do you think that the number of hunting licenses purchased in the United States in that same year, 2021, do you think more people purchased hunting licenses or less?
I'm going to say they probably purchased less, because I don't think the majority of these guns were purchased for the pursuit of hunting.
That's exactly the point that I agree with that point, and the one I'm going to make. License sales dipped 1.9%, which tells me now that's the overall number of hunting licenses purchased was still a lot. It was about 12 million, but that still, if you assumed, which would be incorrect, that every hunter that bought a license bought a gun, which that ain't the case. I mean, look at me and look at you. I didn't buy a gun. I already have a gun to go hunt with. So most people already had the gun to hunt with. They're just getting them a new license or renewing their license for the coming hunting season. So 19 million gun purchases. The bottom line of this is people that are buying guns today, they're not buying them to go hunt with. So the question becomes, why are they buying them? And I would logically assume they're buying them because they're either number one, afraid of the government, or number two, they are afraid that the government will restrict their right to buy one. So they want to go ahead and get one while they can before it's too late.
Yeah, and when when local municipalities defund their police departments, it leaves people responsible for their own defense, and a lot of them have come to realize that, sadly, later than it should have been. But some folks have finally, opened their eyes and seen the light of day.
Mm-hmm. Joe put an interesting statement on here that I'll disagree with, and I'll tell you why. He says that, so what these numbers say is gun and ammo companies want Democrats in office. That would be a pretty quick, logical assessment, but what they really want is stability in the market. That's according to the gun manufacturer that I talked to. Yeah. He may prefer one over the other from a sales point, but right now it doesn't matter if the Republicans are in office or the Democrats are in office. It's who is going to be next in office. So they're in a constant state of turmoil. The market is consistently volatile. So yeah, it would probably be good to have a Democrat in office for sales, because sales seem to, but based on the information you gave, I'm looking at, I wrote it down as you said it, during the Obama years, looks like they went up, but they went up again Let's see, 2000. They went up through the Trump years.
They kind of up and down. Let's see, Trump was elected in 16. Gun sales in 16 were high.
10 million.
I guess that's because people were afraid of the effect of a Hillary Clinton administration.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, as soon as Donald Trump was elected president, gun sales dropped.
Yeah.
And I've heard people refer to that in the ammunition and firearms business as the Trump slump.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as Joe Biden was elected president, the line is vertical.
It's a tough answer to it's tough to answer your question, Steve, on who I would rather have in office. I can make an argument for both, but the fact is stability is the future of the company. And right now we have no stability, and we're sitting here wondering what the hell to do.
Yeah. Well, I want stability.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to enjoy the hobby at a much lower cost.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm tired of having to make decisions in other areas based on the fact that I might want to go shoot a rifle match this weekend.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to go back with those numbers and just clarify some of this shortage in ammunition. It's like you say, it's supply and demand.
It is. No doubt about it. I don't know what I would do if I owned a gun company. How long is it going to be? Up in Sandy Hook in Connecticut, Remington got sued and a judgment entered against them because it still blows my mind, but they were held liable for the person that took their gun and shot the people at Sandy Hook. That blows my mind still to this day that a jury got to that conclusion. But my question is, how long before they decide, you know what? If that AR-15 used in that shooting didn't have any bullets, them kids would still be alive. So we need to figure out what kind of bullet he used, and we need to sue them too and hold them accountable for manufacturing that bullet. How long until we make that jump?
Yeah,
it's coming.
They're going to circumvent the Second Amendment any way that they can.
Yeah. It's interesting, man. I don't know what you do. A gun manufacturer, a bullet company is no different than a company that sells razors or orange juice. They're no different. The principles are the same. Yeah. They base it on supply, demand, the economy, government regulation in the citrus fruit industry. I don't know, man. It's a complicated thing.
Well, if they start shutting down firearms manufacturers because of the misuse of their products, then if you're manufacturing an automobile, if you're the CEO of Ford, man, you better get your team of lawyers together and figure out, okay, how are we going to circumvent this? And if you're making toxic drain cleaner, you better do the same thing.
That's right. 10-4, brother. Hey, good information. Good call. I appreciate the info, John.
Take care, Steve.
All right, see you, man. 229-469-1417, whatever is on your mind. I'm looking at some of these headlines here. That old saying that you can sue anybody for anything. I mean, that's alive and well in this country when you can sue a pharmacy for contributing to the opioid crisis. That's you just sue somebody. Good morning. Joe says we need to sue the Democrats. 229-469-1417. Good morning, caller. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Steve.
Hey, Sandy.
I come up with a brilliant idea.
Let's hear it.
All of us patriots need to go apply for them IRS jobs.
Yeah, I doubt we'd get hired, but that's a good theory. There's good paying jobs. 50 to 80
Hey,
grand.
it's good paying jobs. We get to exercise. We get to keep, and fit.
Mhm.
Because I want to tell you something. Those snowflakes out there, they ain't gonna do that job. They have to get out of the basement.
Yeah.
What are they gonna get to do all that? That's a football stadium full of people, or more than a football stadium of people.
Well, depending on what stadium you're at, I guess. But I took a deep dive into that yesterday, if you will, and this is nothing new with the IRS. It's shocking that the Inflation Act, Inflation Reduction Act, is providing money to hire more. That's the problem. They're hiring 80,000 agents or whatever, but the armed IRS has been in existence since the 1920s. That part is nothing new. It's
right.
the catastrophic increase in the number of agents and the number that they're going to hire to be armed. And what they're talking about is if they find a corporation, like you can imagine a movie with Steven Seagal in it. They've discovered a warehouse at a port that is, ducking the IRS and bilking the country out of millions of dollars and this, that, and the other. And they're going to go raid that company, and they expect resistance from that company. Then they're going to go in there armed, and it make a great movie, and Steven Seagal will figure out how to save everybody. That is far-fetched in most people's minds. I suspect that somebody somewhere is making the calculation that the population, that the people have had enough, and they expect resistance from common people, not the warehouse, but they expect resistance from somebody that lives on 123 Smith Avenue in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. And when the IRS comes knocking, they expect resistance. That's what we've graduated to.
Well, see, that's who they're going to come after. They're coming after middle class, lower class people. They weren't going to raise taxes on anybody under 400,000. Well, if you make 10,000 to 30,000, guess what? You're getting your taxes cut. You're getting your pay cut. I know how it has become, and I don't struggle as far as making my payments and making my payroll and everything. I'm not a struggle, but I have seen it hit my pocketbook. This recession and this inflation has just hit my pocketbook where you can't save like you used to. I mean, when you go to the store, your food is double to almost triple what it was 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Gasoline is still high. I mean, I put $40 or $50 worth in and only got $11 or 11 gallons,
Mm-hmm.
and that was at the low end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
$3.29 a gallon up here in Tifton. The IRS is always, they've always carried guns. They've always had agents. They had to execute, I guess, warrants or whatever, with law enforcement to get documents and all that kind of stuff. But I'm still going to tell you, after what happened with Donald Trump, not the person sitting on Skid Row out there, not the person sitting up in the the corporation is safe anymore. Nobody is. They have just weaponized, and they have turned this country into a banana republic. I don't care if they used a warrant. What they did was wrong. And if the Republicans don't step up there in that Congress
but see,
and start realizing
here's
that
the problem.
They're not
this is what's
pussyfooting
been
with
created. The
fairy
problem
up there. They're
is everybody
pussyfooting with the
believes
devil.
that he done something wrong. Or excuse me, everybody believes he hadn't done anything wrong. This could be squelched within 5 minutes by the Democrats, because right now the Republicans have done a great job answering this. Every one of them's on record now. Every single one of them, but Chris Christie, Mitch McConnell, Tim Scott, Jim Jordan, Ted Cruz, all of them have come out. Rand Paul, they've come out and hammered this, and it's silence and crickets from the Democrats. If they had a just reason for serving this warrant and raiding his Mar-a-Lago thing, all they'd have to do is just simply state it right now. For whatever reason, they haven't stated it. And they're making a huge misstep. If they do have a reason, I'm willing to hear the reason. But you need to tell me the reason, because right now, with every minute that goes by and every day that goes by, without them having any other reason except we saw some boxes there in February and we decided we needed to go get them, that ain't good enough right now. The American people need to know what the reason is. We need to know the reason. And if your reason is truly that you saw those boxes in February and you needed to go get them, then that ain't good enough.
Well, the thing is, Steve, they have asked him, the National Archives have asked him for a box before. They have asked him for documents before, and he says, oh, they're here. Come get them. Mm-hmm. They're open to you. I'm not going to hold on to them because, you know, when you're talking about Donald Trump, he ain't a politician. He's a businessman. And like Tom, I listened to Don Jr. on one of the news things, and he says, my dad collected all kinds of articles. He collected newspaper clippings. There's stuff in there from his first wife, Ivanka, that he cherished, you know, letters and notes and all this other kind of stuff. And, you know, if papers got mixed up in when they're cleaning out their desk or whatever, then, you know, if he's always been cooperative with the National Archives and getting papers and getting documents, then why the raid? It's for show. It's to blacken that man's reputation. Just like they went after Roger Stone and all these other people, they took one senator or one congressman's phone this week that had been supporting Trump. Confiscated his phone while he was on vacation.
Well, we don't know why they did it. That's the whole problem. The American people, I still, and I'm jaded now. Trust me, I don't have a lot of confidence in the American people in general when it comes to processing information. But I do believe this. If somebody served a warrant on a congressman for his cell phone, I simply don't want to know why. All you do is say, well, we suspect this or we suspect that. Evidence says that this could be, so we confiscated his phone. I'm fine with that. But the problem, and Donald Trump, see, if you want to tell me that you've got evidence that, and there seems to be mounting evidence that Trump might have flushed documents or attempted to flush documents down the toilet. That's growing legs, could be possible. If they tie that to the documents down there in Mar-a-Lago and they simply say, look, we have evidence that he tried to flush it, so we served a warrant. I mean, give me something, but don't right now. The only thing we know is that there were 15 boxes down there. They knew it in February, and they simply served a warrant saying we need to retrieve those documents. That's all we know right now. And if that's the only case, all they got to do is ask the man.
They didn't even have to get a warrant.
That's what I just said. That's what I just said. That's what I just said. So you got to give me something else. You're going to embarrass a man and tear him down because he's your opposition and you're threatened by his possible reelection in 2024. That's the only conclusion everybody on the right has right now. And if the people on the left were honest, the voters, they would probably think the same thing. So tell us something. Now, it may come out that there was some reason, but the damage that's being done right now to the country by waiting to divulge the reason is not worth it's just not worth the destruction that's happening in the country right now. It's just not.
Absolutely. Well, look at what the world is looking at. We got a bumbling old fool that comes off the Marine One, can't even put his jacket on, his aviator glasses hanging off of him like he's a drunk man, walking around. His wife is disgusted with him, and he drops his aviator glasses, and he walks over and picks them up. Do you know what? If Donald Trump had dropped his sunglasses, one of those Marine guys would have been right there and got them glasses picked up for him. No bars hold. They would have got them before he could even get it. But no, those guys stood right there at that Marine One, and they didn't twitch an ear, or their eye didn't even blink. They just let it happen. Now, I'm gonna tell you something. Donald Trump, I ain't his water carrier. Okay, there's things, and you and I are on the same page with a lot of what he did, what he shouldn't have done. Main thing is raising our debt. But that man and his family have been scrutinized from the day he rode down that escalator to this day, to today. 5 years, 6 years almost. This man has been scrutinized, and he has been basically tarred and feathered for not doing anything wrong but being a businessman and taking advantage of the tax laws and the tax rules of this country for his businesses. And they cannot stand that he threw a monkey wrench in their plans, and they were well on their way after Obama, and they were waiting for Hillary, and they were going to continue the downward escalation of this country and weaken it even more. And Donald Trump came in, and the people said, we got somebody who cares about this country like we do, and it is eating them alive. Jealousy, pure out jealousy, and it put a monkey wrench in their plan, their communist plan. That's why they hate that man.
Well, there's plenty of reasons.
They have to do to destroy him.
I think as far as the hierarchy in the Democrat Party goes, I think they're mostly frustrated at Trump for the massive amount of judges he was able to seat on the bench. That's what's changed, or that's what's thrown up. I believe in their minds, that's what they're most mad about, is because now it's going to be, they perceive it to be tougher to get legislation passed that will uphold itself through the court of law due to the judges he nominated. And I think that right there is one of the reasons they're fighting so hard to keep him from coming back, because in 2024, some of those justices that are in there now are going to be older, and they're afraid that if he gets a stranglehold on the country and he wins 4 years, the economy turns around like it was under him, with inflation only being 1.2, 1.9, 2.0%. The people are going to wake up and say, look, I don't like Donald Trump as a person, but I sure like this economy. And that's going to lead them to vote in the next guy. And they run the risk of having 12 years of Republican reign that would definitely, probably lead to more judges being seated. And it is literally a fight for the control of this country right now between the left and the right. It is a literal fight for control of the country. It is past traditional politics at this moment. It is a fight for the heart and the soul of the way this country functions.
It's a bloody war. And you know who the victims are in all of this? The American taxpayer, the American people. We are the pawns and the collateral damage in this country. And another thing is, and I truly believe that man was put in that office by God, so that and God didn't need him, okay? But God used him to put that embassy in Israel back in Jerusalem. Back in Jerusalem. Do you know, I don't know how many of y'all know, but I bet Joe could tell you. When Richard Nixon was a little boy, his mom, there was stuff going on with the Israel. I think it was back when the Balfour Treaty and all that, when Israel gained its state. They were given their state. His mom told him when he was a youngster, if you ever are in a position to help Israel, you help Israel. When he was in office, Israel was being under attack or being threatened or attacked by these other Middle Eastern countries. Nobody would sell them weaponry or planes. Nixon sent them planes and weapons over there, and they were able to win whatever was going on at the time. I haven't read a lot into it. but he fulfilled what his mother asked him to do and why he was in that office. Doesn't matter what else he did or didn't do in that office, that one episode in history is what he was there for. And that's how I believe.
10-4, Sandy, I appreciate it. I'm getting close to 8 o'clock here, and I got a big interview with Burt Jones coming up at 8:15. So I'm gonna go get me some coffee and hit the bathroom
I'm
again.
gonna call back in tomorrow and talk to y'all about it.
Oh shoot, I hit the wrong button. I'm sorry, Sandy. You can call back and tell us what you're gonna talk about. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was multitasking, and my finger got away from me. That happens sometimes. Sorry about that. But whatever it is you want to talk about, feel free to call back and talk about it tomorrow. Lots of opinions, lots to talk about. It's, I don't know, man. It's just real tough. 229-469-1417. I'm going to take a quick break and go to the bathroom and come back. But I see my man, Ronnie Maleko, is on here. He's down in Florida, building houses, doing a great job, rocking and rolling. Ronnie, I appreciate you tuning in. And your comment is correct, sir. He says corruption is so deep, it's sickening that the Clintons sit back and the Dems sit back with no accountability on them. What they have done to Trump is criminal, and they should all be ashamed of themselves. I go back to the one thing, Hillary in her email. She thinks it's funny. Shit ain't funny to me. Now, I'm going to be honest. When she makes a hat that says, but what about her emails? Well, when James Comey, as much as I dislike him too, when he sits here and says what she did, in his opinion, wasn't criminal, which I disagree with, but he does excoriate her and says that it was improper. She shouldn't have done it. And yet she's still possibly going to run for president in 2024. She should be disqualified because she showed, at the very least, going by what Comey said, she showed that she is not fit for the office the way she handled her emails. And that's just what I got to say about that. So I agree with you, Ronnie. 229-469-1417. When we come back, I'm going to take a quick break. We'll come back and we might take a call or two before we get Burt Jones on. Y'all hang in there. I will be right back.
Wide awake now? We're honored and humbled to share this time with you each and every day. Please consider liking, sharing, and spreading the word by telling others to tune in. Send them to freedomnetworks.com and they can choose their favorite way to enjoy the show. For now, back to Freedom with Steve Nichols. Go get them, Steve.
Back on Freedom with Steve Nichols, 229-469-1417. I can squeeze in a call if you want to get one in. I do have Burt Jones calling in at 8:15. So about 8:10, 8:12, I'm gonna ask everybody to slack off on the calls, and so we keep the line clear for our candidate for lieutenant governor. That would have been an interesting interview. I can't wait to talk to him. 229-469-1417. Let's go to the Valdosta Transmission Hotline here in the last hour of the show already. Good morning, caller. You're on the Valdosta Transmission Hotline. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Steve. I just want to call in and submit something.
What you got?
You're saying about Trump what we know.
Right.
Well, what we know is coming from the media. And with all respect, brother, we cannot trust anything the media tells us, because in recent years, they've proven through their actions that they have a record of lying and culpability with the political left.
No, that you're 100%
We tend to
right.
not find out the truth until months, if not years later.
That's correct. That's right.
So what we actually know is very little to nothing.
Well, we know by Trump's own words that they.
Yeah, but then again,
saw...
he's the accused. So you got to hold those with at least a little.
I get it. But I'm just telling you, all we know right now is what we're told through the media, to your point, and through the words of Donald Trump. But I submit that the most important thing in this scenario is the silence from those involved, which is Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray of the DOJ. The silence is what the problem is right now. If they got up there and said something, then we could ponder whether or not we believed it or not, at least. But right now we don't. We literally have zero to go on, and that's the problem. And I think that's dangerous. I think that is literally right now. Literally, our country is being torn apart over this issue. I would argue more so than any issue that I've seen in the 6.5 years that I've been doing this.
Well, we might want to start looking for what else is going on somewhere, because usually when this type of thing happens, they got something going on somewhere else they don't want us to be paying attention to.
Yeah, that's what I said yesterday. Could this be some smoke and mirrors thing? It could be.
That's the pattern, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole problem right now, and I can't wait to talk to Burt Jones about this when I get into election integrity right now. It doesn't matter what side you're on right now. I don't care if you're independent, Republican, Libertarian, Democrat, or whatever. The one thing we all have in common right now is that we have no faith whatsoever in the integrity of the federal government. We don't.
Brother, I will stress this and stress this and stress this. This is exactly how George Soros tears countries apart. And we know he has stated that he takes it as his personal mission to destroy this country. And we know his money's involved in our election system. Why is that man not in jail?
I have no idea.
That's subversion. Anyhow, real quick, I know you got somebody coming on. We did a test yesterday. I now know how to turn everything on.
Good.
We're still shooting for Monday. We got a little bit of work to do today and make sure we get everything connected and working the way your system's going to need us. But worst case, maybe Tuesday. I'll let y'all know tomorrow.
10-4, man. Looking forward to it.
As of right now, still looks like when you go off Monday, we should roll on.
Before I let you go here, this is a direct shot at you, so I'm going to give you a chance to respond. John Force said, Steve, you told me to prove Joe wrong. Joe has said the First Amendment does not apply to the states. He's wrong. Don't take my word. Ask any lawyer. Look it up. Comments on that real quick.
Lawyers don't study the Constitution, John, so they wouldn't freaking know. I threw a quote at Sam, and I'm not disparaging Sam, but I threw a quote about the First Amendment at Sam the other day, and he said he had never heard of that before. It was only from the co-author of the First Amendment. The First Amendment also says Congress shall make no law. It doesn't say jack about the states.
That's right.
You don't know how to read English, John. We've already proven that. We've established it. You've done it all for us. All we've done is observe the way you think and try to think and talk. Get out of here. You've got no credibility in this discussion. The founding fathers say you are wrong, John. What it does establish is that the states have certain limited abilities to get rid of things. That the First Amendment even allows the states to have an official state religion. There were 6 or 7 of them that had that at the time of ratification. So if it wasn't allowed, why were they allowed to have it at the time of ratification of that Bill of Rights? You don't know your history. You don't know how to read English. You don't know how to apply the theory of law. And you dang sure haven't read the founding fathers. Go away, John. You bother me, boy.
10-4. Good luck, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Keep us posted. All right, man. Thank you for the call. 229-469-1417. Probably could squeeze one more call in if y'all want to call. That's up to you. I'll leave that up to you. I can always run you off if we get too close, or I do have call waiting. We've gotten that annoying beeping sound out of the system, I think. So we can handle it. If y'all want to call, we'll talk as long as we can. The show is about what you want to talk about. And I'm looking forward to it. Y'all, if you will, take a moment to like, share, and comment, especially share. If you can get the word out right now or after the show that there's a interview with Burt Jones on here, I would think that you guys would want to get that word out, and Larry probably can isolate the interview and we'll post it on the website maybe. But anyway, 229-469-1417. Good morning, caller. What's on your mind today?
Well, I just have to call in and rebut his rebuttal.
Well, you're not only rebutting his rebuttal, if you don't believe, if you still disagree, then what you're saying is you disagree with the person who wrote the First Amendment.
Okay, you want to let me talk now?
Maybe. Until you say something stupid, I'll hang up, but go ahead.
Maybe.
I mean, you're already mad, but go ahead.
Yeah, I know, Steve. Yeah, I figured that's what Joe was talking about, the founding fathers, and that's how it was meant to be. Look, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about today, 2022. The Supreme Court has ruled through the 10th Amendment, I believe. The First Amendment applies to states with the other 10 amendments. So you and Joe and everybody can have your little founding father. I don't care. I live in 2022.
You obviously care.
You
obviously care. Don't say you don't care. You wouldn't be listening to this show. You wouldn't be calling and commenting on it.
Yeah, but the fact is the First Amendment applies to states today. Now, the founding fathers might not have wanted it to. That's good, Joe, and you can have that victory. But I'm talking about today. Ask your friend, what's his name? I forget. Ask your friend that comes on Fridays. Ask anybody. The First Amendment applies to the states. The Second Amendment applies to the states. I mean, this is common knowledge. Come on now.
Well, I don't know where you get the link from the 10th Amendment to the First Amendment. I'll have to figure that out.
Look it up, Steve. I'm
looking at it.
Do not take my word.
I'm looking at it now, and it does not mention the First Amendment in the 10th Amendment. It says the powers not delegated to the United States.
I did not say that. Oh, my God. You can't read.
I'm reading it to you now. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Now, how in God's name do you link that to the First Amendment? That's what you said.
I didn't. Okay, I did not say the 10th Amendment.
You did.
In the First Amendment or whatever.
You did.
You heard that wrong. I said they have ruled.
You said it wrong.
By the 10th Amendment, through the 10th Amendment, that the Bill of Rights now applies to states.
Again,
read the decisions. Again, nothing. You can't understand. You're an old man with dementia.
Y'all can read the 10th Amendment as good as I can. And it don't say anything that John says it says. Nothing. 229-469-1417. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. What's on your mind?
Hey, you keep hanging up.
Mm-hmm. Gonna keep hanging up. I got Burt Jones calling in at 8:15, so we're probably a little bit too close to that to take any more calls. I'm gonna read. If you don't know who Burt Jones is, while we're waiting on him to call, I'm gonna read a little bit about his biography. Who he is, what he's done. Burt Jones is a husband and father. This is from his website, which is BurtJonesofGeorgia.com, BurtJones4Georgia.com. Burt Jones is a husband and a father, man of faith, conservative businessman, and sixth-generation Georgia native. Burt Jones is a lifelong conservative who has a proven record of creating jobs, growing a successful business, and fighting for Georgia values. A sixth-generation Jackson native, Burt works for his family's business, Jones Petroleum, where he has served as an integral part of growing the diverse, multifaceted company employing nearly 2,000 Georgians, but also founded JP Capital Insurance Incorporated and a risk management company specializing in retail insurance brokerage, Through hard work and dedication, Burt built this startup agency into an established insurance brokerage house funded on professionalism and client service. Answering a call to service, Burt was elected to the state senate for Georgia's 25th district in 2012. Over his time in office, Burt has been instrumental in the district's economic development by attracting new businesses and creating thousands of jobs and opportunities for Middle Georgia. Importantly, Burt led the fight to restore confidence and accountability to our elections process after the disastrous 2020 cycle. In fact, Burt played an integral part in the passage of the Election Integrity Act, which we know as SB 202, and has been recognized nationally as a leader for election integrity, including by President Donald J. Trump. He was also asked by the Trump administration to join the Foreign and Domestic Trade Council. Before his business career, Burt was a student athlete and a 4-year letterman for the University of Georgia football team. As a former walk-on, Senator Jones was elected permanent team captain for the 2022 season, helping to steer the team to its first SEC championship in 20 years. In 2014, UGA named Burt a distinguished alumni and named him to its 40 under 40 list. Burt lives with his wife, Jan, and their 2 children, Stella and Banks, in Butts County. Burt and his family are active members of Rock Springs Church in Milner, Georgia. So there's your overview of Burt Jones, and he'll be calling here in a couple of minutes. I'm going to check my email, make sure there's been no change in that. Yes, Joe, it'll be all okay to call after the Burt Jones interview. That would be great. Let me look and check my email very quickly. Make sure that I haven't missed something. Well, looks like we're still on. I haven't seen any cancellations, so we'll wait for him to call probably in another minute or so. We're going to talk to him about several issues. I'm very well prepared to answer or to ask him the questions that's on my mind. And again, after the interview, there'll be a lot of things that people say I should have asked, and you can't. You just can't get it all in there. You know what I mean? You just can't. So we'll see. We'll see what we'll see how it goes. I'm reading as I await the call, so I'm sorry about that. But I'm looking at some of the headlines. I'm gonna flip over here to the CNN say that the Justice Department is a no-win situation over Trump. I disagree. They could come out with a couple of statements that may ease the public's mind, unless they didn't have a just reason to do this, right? You know what I mean? So that's the problem, right? That's the problem. Let's look at the BBC headlines. France battles monster wildlife fire, causing some 10,000 people to flee the area. Pictures look terrible, man. It's amazing how hot a forest fire can get. Tim Crown can shed some light on that too. This is some interesting news that I read last night before I went to bed. A reporter, U.S. reporter that's been missing since 2012 is believed to be currently being held in Syria. The U.S. is certain that an American journalist abducted a decade ago has been held by the Syrian government, President Joe Biden says. Austin Tice, a former U.S. Marine, was taken captive near Damascus on 14 August 2012 while covering the country's civil war. Let's go to the Valdosta Transmission Hotline and hopefully welcome on to the air Lieutenant Governor candidate on the Republican ticket, Burt Jones. Mr. Jones, is this you?
Yes, sir. How are you this morning?
Oh, we're doing fantastic. And I do want to thank you for taking the time to call in this morning and speak to my audience. It means a lot to us that you would do that. And I read your bio to the audience prior to your call from your website so people could kind of get familiar with who you are. And I also directed them to BurtJonesForGeorgia.com to glean more information. But tell me, I'm just going to kind of let you have the floor to begin with and tell us, first of all, why do you want to be Lieutenant Governor for the state of Georgia?
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and sorry I was a minute or so late calling in this morning, but
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm born and raised here in Middle Georgia. Grew up in a little town called Jackson, Georgia, which is about an hour and 45 minutes north of you guys there in Valdosta. And like I said, born and raised here. Went to the University of Georgia, played football up there.
Feeling pretty good about that national championship, I'm sure.
I am.
Me too.
You know,
me too.
when I was a freshman, Kirby Smart was a senior, and he and I played defensive back. Actually played safety, and Kirby obviously was starting free safety at the time, and so I've got a long, good friendship with Kirby, and I'm real proud of the program that he's built there. I mean, you know, I always knew he was always a coach on the field.
Wow.
Back in the day, and you always knew that that was what he was going to do. That was kind of his calling, you know, even back then, and you knew he'd be pretty good. And so I'm so happy for him. And he and his wife Mary Beth are great friends with them, and he's built a heck of a program, and I think he's going to have a lot of success for years to come. But at any rate, graduated from University of Georgia, came back home, started working in a family business that we have here called Jones Petroleum Company. Worked with my siblings. We're in the wholesale retail convenience store business. I started a few businesses on my own as well as JP Capital and Insurance, and so I've always come at politics from a business background. Ran for the state senate in 2012, and like I said, being from a small town, you know, you kind of get recruited to try to run for local offices or state offices, and I was naive enough to you know, allow them to talk me into it back then, and at any rate, but I've enjoyed my time in the Senate. 10 years that I served in the state Senate. Know that role, that body pretty well, and the lieutenant governor's position came available, and I'm like a lot of you know, citizens here in the state and small business owners here in the state. You know, I've been concerned about direction, you know, of our state, and you know, and instead of sitting on the sideline and complaining about things, I think you ought to be involved. You ought to lend your name to a position like that. And so I threw my name threw the hat in the ring and ran for the post and won the primaries. 4 people in the primary, had a very hotly contested primary, and won that. And now you know, we're here in the general right now, and I've always brought a business perspective to the legislative process, which I think is important. And because I'm a limited government, small government, lower taxes, fewer regulations, and I you know, want to always try to improve our K through 12 education system and things of that nature. I've seen what works and what does not work in the legislature, and so I think I'll bring a lot of knowledge to the position, and I'll be ready day one. It won't be a learning curve for me, you know, having served in that body. So, you know, you know, I think that there's a clear contrast right now between what us as Republican Party is representing for the state of Georgia as opposed to what the Democrat Party is. You know, they, Stacey Abrams has handpicked the people that she wanted to run for lieutenant governor and secretary of state and everything else. And, you know, they're all have been on record as, you know, saying, you know, back in 2020, we should have shut down businesses and schools, which Governor Kemp and the legislature did not allow that to happen, but they wanted it to happen. You know, they want to have all these programs, free technical college, free higher education, free, you know, everything, free. But they don't explain how they want to pay for it.
Yeah, it ain't free.
And I think,
really, I want to zero in on something you said. You mentioned handpicked. Of course, I correct me if I'm wrong. It's an Abrams Charlie Bailey ticket. Is that correct?
Yeah. You know, we don't run his tickets in Georgia, but yes, you're correct. the guy that's running for lieutenant governor was originally running for attorney general, and then Stacey basically went to him and said, "No, I don't want you to run for attorney general. I want you to run for this other post,
That's it.
lieutenant governor." So
that's interesting. That's
yeah,
interesting.
and
Not to cut you off, not to cut you off, but I want to drill in this because I want to make this distinction. As you said, it's not a like a president vice president ticket, and that was probably a poor choice of words by me, which happens often, by the way. Brian Kemp is running for re-election for governor. You're running for lieutenant governor. In the primary, you had a pretty tough primary challenge there. You came through on top. Your relationship with Brian Kemp, I'm assuming you support Brian Kemp. How is your relationship with Governor Kemp? I guess I'm trying to determine, has he endorsed you, did he endorse you through the primary, or did he just kind of sit back and let it happen?
I think everybody kind of ran their own race.
Okay, good.
The primary, but Governor Kemp and I have a great working relationship, and I've known Governor Kemp for quite some time, from his time as Secretary of State, and also serving in the legislature while he has been governor.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had a good working relationship with him, and obviously am supporting him in this general election, and like I said, he has done a good job as governor. There's a lot of, we're kind of the envy of the country right now because of some of the tough decisions that he made back in 2020 with the economy. Because of even though he took a lot of fire from both sides on the national level, I was one of the first ones to tell him, look, you're doing the right thing, stay the course. We got to keep businesses open. We got to keep people employed and everything, and that's the big reason why we have a $5 billion surplus now.
I want to go to that. I want to go to that surplus. I want to contrast the vision that the Abrams side has against what you may think we should do with the surplus. I know Brian Kemp has indicated that he looks at that, and I'm sure you do too, as that money is ours. That's our money. That belongs to the taxpayers. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I know Kemp would like to give some of that taxpayer money back to those taxpayers, which is in contrast to what the Abrams camp wants to do. They want to continue to hold that money, possibly take more of your money and spend it on these government programs that they see fit to. And I want you to comment on that, that contrast between your vision of that surplus and the Democrats' apparent vision of that surplus.
Well, let's be clear. If Abrams had been in charge, we wouldn't have that surplus.
I'd agree.
I said, we would have been shut down. Economy, we look more like a Michigan or California as far as from the economy standpoint is concerned. So if she had been running things, there would be no $5 billion surplus, But we have moved to return a lot of those dollars, refund, a lot of that money back to the citizens, and income tax credits and things of that nature, and I think that's the right thing to do. There are some local dollars. I mean, we put a lot of money back into local economies, particularly communities that have had needed water and sewage upgrades. A lot of small communities have been able to access those dollars and reinvest them into their local communities. And so, obviously, my goal as lieutenant governor, as far as from a tax standpoint, is to try to eliminate the state income tax. I think the state income tax is something that we've talked about as conservatives for a long time, getting rid of. We've lowered it, and we should probably use some of those dollars to put towards trying to continue to lower that burden on small businesses and families, because right now, more than ever, our folks need a break. They're getting hit with record 40-year high inflation right now. Gas prices are, a 4-year high right now, and then of course the cost of living, groceries, cost of living across the board is going up. So what our plan is to try to do everything we can to. That's one of the reasons why we eliminated the gas tax for right now, the Georgia sales tax on fuel, because trying to give Georgians some relief. And it's a stark contrast between what the Democrats want to do with our money, because that's what it is. It's the taxpayers' money.
No doubt about it.
And I think it's going to be a clear choice of who we want to continue to lead the state. You know, we've been the best place to do business for 8 years running. And unlike what Stacey Abrams said, I think we're the best place to live. You know?
Yeah, I think that statement's going to bite her in the ass. So excuse my French, but I mean, if you don't,
well, it should.
It should. Yeah,
know? I mean,
I want to shift a little bit.
She didn't slip up.
No, she told the truth. All you got to do is listen to her. She'll tell you what she thinks if you'll just listen. Election integrity. You guys, in my opinion, you guys in the Senate and in the House and the governor signed it into law. I think SB 202 was a really good step in the right direction to secure the election and kind of give us confidence and reestablish election integrity. In my audience, Mr. Jones, the overall sentiment is still that we don't have confidence in our election process. In our world on here, and I've got about 30 always over when the month ends, I always end up having over 30,000 individual different listeners to the show, and overwhelmingly the email responses, the comments I get on Messenger, on Facebook, and on the 4 platforms we broadcast on, is that they still don't trust specifically Dominion voting machines. What is your opinion on Dominion? How confident in those machines are you?
Well, you know, I was on the front lines back in 2020 for investigation of the drop boxes, absentee ballots, things of that nature, calling into question, the Dominion machines and everything. And while 202, I think, did a lot of things to try to reassure, improve people's confidence in the process. I will say that, we still had hiccups even in this last election cycle in the primary. There's no reason the state of Georgia should be waiting 2, 3, 4 days after election day on results from counties like DeKalb and Fulton and things of that nature. And I have been one of those that I don't think we should be mandating 159 counties to allow an outside vendor, because that's what it is, whoever an outside vendor to basically run your elections. So that is something I want to continue to try to improve. I want to try to get people's confidence back in the process. And so we're gonna look at ways when I'm elected lieutenant governor, we're gonna look at ways to continue to try to improve those. And I would say that having more than one vendor for counties to choose from would be a good option, but also allowing some counties to say, look, we'd rather just do paper ballots.
That's interesting.
It costs too much money for us to do software updates and things of that nature.
So just to be specific, you're running for the spot of lieutenant governor, and right now the system is Dominion. Are you okay? Are you completely confident that there'll be no shenanigans whatsoever through Dominion that could possibly keep you out of office?
I have concerns. Like I said, it was this last election cycle seemed a little bit better, but like I said, when some of the issues that you had, particularly in DeKalb County, where we were 3 weeks delayed on getting the results from DeKalb County because of machine error. That does not instill a lot of confidence in me. However, and so that is why I do want to address it once elected, and you know, I think there's a pretty heavy spotlight on those machines that are being used right now, and you know, I think that a lot of counties, I have a lot of confidence in a lot of counties around the state because they've historically been good at running elections. But there are a few outliers, you know, particularly Fulton and DeKalb and some other ones who historically have had problems. It doesn't matter if it's
they find that's
paper
right.
ballots or
You
whatever,
could use
you know,
use a thumbprint and a piece of paper, and Fulton County is going to find a problem with using it. But I want to talk. I promise I'm going to let you go after this question because I know you got things to do. But illegal immigration is in the spotlight. We see that Governor Abbott down there, who is catching hell with illegals coming across that border to the tune of 200,000 a month in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
He has bused them to New York. And that governor in Washington, D.C., they're starting to see a little bit of the problem with illegal immigration. Here in the state of Georgia, how do you see illegal immigration, and how would you react as lieutenant governor? You could have to fill the shoes of Governor Kemp if he's out of the country, out of the state, or if there's some sort of, God forbid, emergency. How would you, if you were governor, how would you handle illegal immigration, or what are your thoughts on what we can do as Georgians to protect ourselves from that flood?
Well, your key term right there is illegal immigration.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these tens of thousands of people who are coming over our borders are coming here illegally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're breaking our laws, and we have an administration that is not enforcing them. And just to show you where they are and how the lack of concern that they have for the American people and Georgia families and businesses. This last week, the bill that they're touting so much as a great victory for the Democratic Party included adding 87,000 IRS agents.
Yeah, that's crazy.
87,000, not 87,000 border agents, 87,000 IRS agents, which are not going to be there to improve customer service with the IRS. I can assure you that. They're going to be there to target small businesses, to target, probably more than likely conservative leaning business owners and things of that nature. And that is a shame when you have a border that you have tens of thousands of people flooding into your country. You have with illegal drugs, human trafficking going on, everything else. I totally support Governor Abbott down in Texas doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
You know, because it is a crying shame what is going on in the state of Texas on our borders right now, and the administration is basically told their border patrol to stand down. And they're letting them just come in here, and you know, we have a immigration system, a legal process for our immigration system, and people who want to come into this country should go through that process, not just come into our country and then get on our healthcare systems and our public school systems and everything else. So it is I think a crisis that's going on down there, and I totally support what the Governor Abbott is doing as far as putting them in, you know, Washington D.C., busing them up to Washington D.C., busing them up to New York, and say, look, y'all are not helping us with this, so you know, y'all enjoy the dealing with this.
Yeah, the shoes on the other foot.
Dealing with this as much as we're having to. You know,
that's right. What are your overall thoughts, real quick, on the raid or the search warrant being served on Mar-a-Lago against President Trump? What's your thoughts on that, real quick?
Well, I mean, I think it ought to concern every American, because it looks like the FBI, Department of Justice, is being weaponized. It's being used as a political tool by the Democratic Party, and they are, obviously raided the former president's home in Florida, and to quote unquote pick up documents that they probably could have easily asked for and gotten without any problem, but to have 30 agents come in the early mornings to comb through the home is something that it is concerning, just from an American citizen standpoint. It looks like something you would see in a Fidel Castro Cuba,
That's
or
right.
something
That's
like
right.
that. But
Yeah,
so,
no doubt.
so that is concerning. Don't know any of the details. They're not even saying exactly what they were looking for, but if they could do it to a former president, they could definitely ruin lives of any average American out there.
Yeah. I'm gonna wrap it up by saying this. You don't know me, but I'm an avid outdoorsman. I love to hunt. I love to hunt deer. I love to hunt turkey. And I realize that you're from Butts County, which is a great place to deer hunt. And I'm just going to put this out here. In exchange for some great deer hunting, I can do a hell of a lot of campaigning for the Jones camp.
Come on, we have no shortage of deer up here. So
no doubt about it. No doubt about
anytime
it.
anytime you're welcome. Got some good turkey hunting up here as well. So we can make that trade all day long, because in fact I almost coming up my driveway this morning, I had 3 just standing there that I could have put my hand out and petted them.
That's good stuff right there.
Yeah, we don't have a shortage of them. But
10-4.
I greatly appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir. No doubt about it. I'm sorry I kept you on a little longer than we agreed, but that's just a flaw in my it's just a bad habit I got there.
Being a long-winded politician.
Yeah, you are a typical long-winded politician. I'll give you that. I shouldn't say typical. I shouldn't say, but you guys can talk. How can we find out more about Burt Jones? How can we support you if we see fit? Where do we go to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Love to have your listener support. Then go to BurtJonesForGA.com, BurtJonesForGA.com. Go there, sign up for our newsletters. We'd love to have volunteers. You can sign up to have volunteers. And there's even a donation site there too. If you want to throw us a few dollars, we'd love to have it, because I can tell you these races are expensive, and they're really expensive in Georgia, because Georgia is a heavy target because of what's going on at the governor's race and the United States Senate race. So any and all help is appreciated, and but most importantly, we just love to have your support and your vote come November.
10-4. Thank you for calling, Mr. Jones, and we'll get you back in when it gets a little closer to December. Thanks for the call this morning.
Okay, take care. Appreciate it.
All right, see you later. All right, there you go. 229-469-1417. And as I already predicted earlier, the interview won't ever ask. I mean, he talked a lot. I had him on here for 25 minutes, which was 10 minutes more than the agreement. So I was pushing there, but he talked a lot, so I kept him there. But Aaron says none of this answered any damn question I have, but that's gonna happen. That is gonna happen. What you wanted? My number one question was the Dominion voting machines. That was the number one thing I wanted to get out there, and we talked about that. Then the second thing I wanted to talk a little bit about was immigration. And there'll be other topics, and I'll hit him on some other things as we move closer to November. But if you want to call me and let's discuss it, Mary says he didn't really answer the questions. I thought he answered the Dominion question okay. I asked him specifically, as Lieutenant Governor running, is he completely confident in the Dominion voting machines? And he said no, he's not completely confident, but I think what else is he supposed to say? I mean, that is the system we have in place. And if he was to get on here and say, I know I have zero confidence, he did say that one of the things he wanted to do if elected was take a look at that, take a look at the contract with Dominion. If he'd have got on here, you got to understand something. The Abrams camp was listening to this interview, or they will listen to it, and they'll pick it apart. So he has to protect himself against that. So if he comes out and says, no, I have zero confidence, then what I would do if I was Abrams, what I'd generate an ad saying the lieutenant governor's already saying that we're going to cheat. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know what else you do, but I don't know. He is a typical politician, admittedly, when he said he talked. I mean, he filibustered me a lot. And I've got to get Bill O'Reilly on these jokers. I got to cut them off. Whenever I hear the answer to the question I asked, let's move on. If he's not getting there, I need to say, look, I asked you this. You need to get to the point here because I got a lot more questions. I got to do better. But again, I didn't go to radio interview school. I'm just a dumb old boy from Hayhira. And anyway, but what Mary says, maybe it's because my sound is going in and out again because it's cloudy. But what I did here didn't seem satisfactory. That's fair enough. That's fair enough to say that you didn't get the answer you wanted to hear. You didn't get enough information. That's fair. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't. And you're not going to. I could sit there and spend the whole 20 minutes on SB 202 and election integrity. I could do that. But I mean, I didn't get down my list. I had 8 things I wanted to go over, and I got 2 of them out, basically. So anyway, 229-469-1417. What's on your mind? We'll talk about the interview. We'll talk about the election. I mean, are you going to vote for Burt Jones? Are you going to vote for Charlie Bailey? That's the question. Or are you going to ride in? Charlie Bailey's as you heard Mr. Jones say, he seems to be the hand-picked person of Stacey Abrams. So there you go. Again, we'll hear, to me, the answer on immigration was fuzzy. I didn't get the answer I wanted to hear there. I don't think he provided a clear answer. He provided an answer. Some of the things he said was true, but I don't think he related it to Georgia really well. And I think that's a problem. I think that's something Brian Kemp found very challenging because one of his campaign platform policies was that he was going to get rid of the illegal immigrants here. I mean, I think he had a campaign ad with him, with a truck going to truck them out of here or something. But on the Dominion question, I think he answered it about as honestly and openly as he could without creating an opportunity for his opposition. Remember, he's got to get elected. His number one job is to get elected. So he's got to answer with that in the back of his mind. That's just what politics is. And that's why I can't run for office because I can't get elected because I ain't going to do that. Good morning, caller. You're on the Valdosta Transmission Hotline. What's on your mind?
Well, I was going to go back to John Ford, but only if that's okay.
No, that's great. Yeah, let's hear it.
And I don't want to interrupt what y'all are doing with your local stuff.
The show is what the caller wants to talk about. So let me hear it.
Well, Ford was talking about, I was reading in his notes. What he's alluding to is that the 14th Amendment has changed the First Amendment.
But he said the 10th.
And
I did not hear that.
Memory fails when you're senile. He was projecting when he said you were senile. He was talking about the reflection in his mirror.
Mm-hmm.
The 14th Amendment, folks, has been used to rewrite the entire U.S. Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
That's illegal. It was also done by judiciary ruling our understanding of how this works. If you go to theroadtoconcord.com, my blog page, you will find a 2-piece post that I wrote explaining all of this to you. Explains all of what they did and how they did it. And in the process of what they actually did, just reading from my one paragraph from my post, it says, to make a long, murky legal argument understandable, what SCOTUS did was to rule that the 14th Amendment rewrote the entire U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights. Originally, the U.S. Constitution established a federal system of government subordinate to the states. Originally, the Constitution mostly restricted the federal government. It also established a strong system of checks and balances. What this 1947 SCOTUS ruling did was affirm that the 14th Amendment had rewritten the Constitution. Now the Constitution is understood to establish a national government to which the states are subordinate. Furthermore, the entire Bill of Rights now applies to the states as well, where it didn't before. The problem with this, here's a quote from our founding fathers. The judiciary of the United States is the subtle core of sappers and miners constantly working underground to undermine the foundations of our confederated fabric. They are construing our Constitution from a coordination of general and special government to a general and supreme one alone. This will lay all things at their feet. We shall see if they are bold enough to take the daring stride these 5 lawyers have lately taken. He's talking about the Supreme Court here. If they do, then I will say that against this, every man should raise his voice and more should uplift his arm. Thomas Jefferson saying when the court does what it did in the 14th Amendment, you grab your musket, you remove those people by force because they are tyrants. John Ford supports the tyranny of the judiciary. He is not an American.
Yeah, it's confusing to the layperson. What happens, and I've seen it a million times, they simply, and it happens, you know, in other words, right now, if we had an amendment, which we hadn't had, I can't remember, is the 25th Amendment the last amendment?
25th, 26th.
27th, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, today, if we had an amendment, okay, the process is that the amendment is proposed and it's voted on in the House and the Senate, and it's signed into law by the president. So just that right there, without even getting into the weeds of what an amendment would be, the process, most people today have somehow fallen under the false notion that it's okay to amend the Constitution if the process is followed. The 14th Amendment, the process written into the Constitution to amend the Constitution, I'm assuming without study, I'll defer to you on this, that the 14th Amendment went through Congress, it went through the Senate, and it was signed into law by the president. For many, that's good enough. But somewhere along the line, and it may have been with the start of the 14th Amendment, it may be the 13th, the 12th, the 11th, the 10th, the 9th, but somewhere along there, Joe, the vision that the founding fathers laid out for the Constitution was corrupted. And
and
even
the 14th Amendment ratified it into law. Well, presumably ratified it into law. The 14th Amendment was not legally ratified, folks.
So it wasn't voted on by Congress, the Senate, signed into law.
It wasn't affirmed by the states. You've got to remember it was passed at the time with the southern states. The southern states were basically told you can't vote on the ratification of this amendment. Well, then guess what? It doesn't apply to the southern states. But then they forced it down their throat and said, yeah, it does, whether you get to vote on it or not. So they subverted the Constitution to enforce the Constitution. That's not legal. The 14th Amendment should not be in place.
So if I'm president today, or let's just say I'm a senator, if there's an amendment proposed today, do the states have to ratify that amendment, or is it simply passed by the vote of the House, the Senate?
Who knows, Steve? The court can say whatever it wants now. But the reason we don't do amendments anymore is because they've got all this system in place where they can just amend the Constitution by judicial decree. And the reason they had to go to that is because they couldn't push these progressive amendments on the American people in the states weren't ratifying them. We refused. The ERA, they tried to get the ERA amendment ratified. The states can just, no, we don't want it. So what'd they do? You should ask Barbara Stratton about this. She'll tell you how it works. They took that agenda. There's a book called After the Ball. It tells you exactly how to push the ERA through the courts and amend the Constitution without ever writing an amendment. They did exactly that with the LGBTQ, whatever, the transformer agenda, whatever you want to call it. That agenda was pushed through using judicial decree. They make law from the bench all the time now because we won't stop them.
Yeah,
that's simple. You live under judicial tyranny.
According to specific law, right now as we speak in 2022, I'm looking at it, the Constitution can only be amended when 38 of the 50 states ratify it. That is still the law right now. But to your point, they circumvent that by executive orders or just passing laws that go around it.
Yep, all the time.
All the time. And we sit here and let it happen. We sit here and let it happen. We don't do nothing about it.
Yep. The founding fathers, Madison is one of these. Madison said the only way to construe The Constitution is according to the original intent of those who wrote it. He said, if you construe it any other way, you're misconstruing it. In other words, your judicial ruling is illegal. It's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something folks don't seem. We've been trained that the court can never be wrong. The court can be wrong all the time, and the court is wrong all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The minute they cease to be judges and they start becoming super legislative body, they're no longer judges. They're no longer the Supreme Court. They're not. As it stands today, SCOTUS is an illegitimate body, just the same as Congress is. And that's why you got presidents making law with executive decree. Our Constitution's been dead for a long time. And folks, you just need to wrap your head around it. You know, it is. It's dead. We do not operate according to the system that we were handed by the Founding Fathers. We have not done so for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Lay this entirely at the feet of the progressive movement.
Yeah.
Secular humanism. Whatever name you want to call it,
well,
secular humanism.
The whole divide is ideological. John writes right here. He says, "So Joe, your whole argument is the Supreme Court or Congress can't make laws that goes against the original Constitution. Then it's wrong." That's what he says.
That's just kind of what the Constitution says.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So
remember, John doesn't understand the plain meaning of words.
No. When I hear this, all I can think of, and I'm being completely honest, is I'm sitting here thinking, why in the world am I going to go vote in November?
George Soros has got, just what he wanted from us.
Yeah. So
here's a couple of things for. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right now, our only defense, our only logical, legitimate defense is our vote, and we're being outvoted by, again, 90% of the public, in my opinion, that have no idea of the founding principles of this country.
How do you know you're being outvoted? Lenin said he doesn't care who you vote for, just as long as he gets to count the votes. When the windows go up and the opposition party is kicked out of where they're counting them and only one party's in control of it, lo and behold, they find what they need to make their candidates win. How do you know who you voted for? Or if you're allowed to find votes in the trunk of a car and all of a sudden Al Franklin's senator, how do you know who you voted for, who the people voted for? You don't know. You don't know.
Well, then that goes back.
And I know a lot of people, Joe's conspiracy theory. No, it's fact. It's objective reality. I'm just recognizing.
That goes back to why vote. I mean, if you believe
exactly.
that,
but now
are you
were given.
Are you going to vote in November?
I'm going to vote because it's your civic duty, but you're given another means of defense that nobody wants to talk about right now. What did Jefferson tell us to do when this happened?
He said to pick up your gun. That's what he said.
The tree of liberty's thirsty, folks.
Mm-hmm.
It's parched. It's been in a drought for decades.
Mm-hmm.
There's your answer. If we can't get the states to assert their sovereignty and either call for a constitutional convention or start seceding, you're left with Jefferson's last option. That, or you live under tyranny. What can I say? We're going to discuss all this on my show. We're going to go through it step by step by step.
Mm-hmm.
But we live in a before you run out of time, we live in a society where they, if you do not realize how they're perverting just even our language, how they change the meaning of words in real time while you're talking to them.
That's right.
You got to pay attention to these things, man, because our founding fathers warned us about that. Samuel Adams, how strangely will the tools of a tyrant pervert the plain meaning of words.
Mm-hmm.
Benjamin Franklin, here comes the orator with his flood of words and his drop of reason. Now, didn't Ben and Sam here have Ford and the likes of John Ford nailed to a T?
I think so.
So why do we listen to people like John Ford?
Entertainment.
I mean, we've got them sitting, that press secretary we have right now, Kamala Harris. Does anybody have a Kamala Harris to English decoder ring out there?
A translator. That's right. Oh, Lordy. Yeah.
Folks.
All honesty, Joe, all honesty. Do you see in mine in your life, how old are you? Tell me again how old you are.
56.
50. Okay, we're about the same age. I'm 55. Do you see in mine in your lifetime a revolution. Do you see it?
No,
Me neither.
we're not the people the founders were.
No, we are not descended of fearful men, but we are fearful ourselves. We just are. We won't do it. And I know all these people like to say, I'm ready to fight, this, that, and the other. No, they're not. They're just not. They're not. They may think they are, but they're not.
No, you've got no central thing to rally around.
Mm-mm.
We're libertarians now. What have I told folks about libertarian ideology? Why doesn't it work? Because it's an army of however many libertarians you got. All of those are all their own sovereign person.
Mm-hmm.
They won't acknowledge another leader. Libertarian, Jimmy will give you libertines. They all want their own individual liberty, but they won't rally around each other.
Mm-hmm.
Our founding fathers had to rally and stand together. And they told us clearly what they rallied around. And every time I bring it up, people tell me they don't want to talk about that. They don't want that.
I think
if you will not rally around,
see, I don't blame
the
us.
central point.
I don't blame us,
but
honestly. I
it's
tell
the
you,
central point, Steve, of the only successful revolution that led to liberty in the history of mankind.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to listen to that point.
No, I don't fault anybody that's breathing and living today. Who I fault, it's just me, who I fault because these people let it get to this point. The people, and I'm sure it was before, but when Woodrow Wilson was president, when Lyndon Johnson was president, that's the people that I blame for us getting to the point of no return, because we're now, I feel like we're at the point of no return. We can't do anything about this. We can't, but they could have. At some point, something could have been done. Maybe it was when they were trying to pass and ratify, if they did, the 14th Amendment. But there's a point in time when this country was salvageable. And unfortunately, in my opinion, we're past it.
Yes. Now, does that make me Debbie Downer? Maybe in the material worldview, but I'm not a pessimist. If I was actually a pessimist, you wouldn't have me working my butt off to put a show on next week.
Yeah.
I think there's still a future and there's still hope. It's just not in the direction that everybody, I'm a conservative. Well, quit looking backwards. That's dead. Take what they tried to teach us and do exactly what Jefferson said. Repair it. Make it anew.
If Jesus doesn't come back before we get a chance, I think at some point things will get so bad that it starts trying to feel corrected. Now, when I say that, this is a long journey. We watched Venezuela go from a fairly free, thriving country to the corrupt dictatorship it currently is now. I do believe at some point in time, again, if Jesus ain't come back yet, and I think he will, I think that something would happen in Venezuela to get it out the other side. But you're talking hundreds of years. You're not talking a decade or two. You're talking about look at the Roman Empire.
You're missing a very big thing that all of human history before us didn't have, that we have now. You're not going to have liberty come back, Steve. They have AI and computers and ways of watching every little thing you do.
It's tougher, if not impossible, now, is what you're saying.
Right, because when a Joe or a Steve stands up in Venezuela, we disappear.
Yeah, that's true.
So the movement never gets going. It's stillborn.
Well, with the SBA, the IRS, the EPA all having weapons right now and edicts to kill if needed, sure ain't looking good for the home team, is it?
Nope. But this is why Scripture says Jesus comes back. It says, as in the days of Noah. How many righteous people were left in the days of Noah, folks? One.
That's exactly right. Noah. All right, my brother. Good stuff. Keep us posted.
All right, man. Take care, bro.
See you. Bye. All right, 229-469-1417. That was the Valdosta transmission open line. It's closed now. We're going to get on out of here. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Appreciate the discussion. Thanks to Burt Jones for calling in again. Larry, hopefully we'll isolate that interview and we'll post it up so people that missed it can go back and hear it easy. We'll tune in. We'll see you tomorrow. I ask you to tune in tomorrow. You've been listening to Freedom with Steve Nichols. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the morning.
We at Freedom with Steve Nichols want to thank each and every one of you for listening. Together, we will protect, defend, and promote the freedom as our founding fathers envisioned. We believe in the spirit of the Declaration of Independence and strive to protect that spirit daily. Please thank and utilize the goods and services of our sponsors and advertisers every chance you get. For now, we bid you farewell. Have a great day.